Disclaimer. The content presented in this show is intended for entertainment purposes only. All opinions expressed are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of any individuals or organizations mentioned. Statements made about public figures or entities are based on publicly available information and are not intended to harm or defame any person or business. This show relies on fair use of social media posts, which are presented in good faith for the purpose of commentary and criticism. Viewers and listeners are advised to form their own opinions.
Circle Back, episode number 18, right here on the Circles Off YouTube channel, powered by the Hammer Betting Network and presented by Underdog. Now, you'll notice I'm in the Circles Off studio. We don't typically record in here. We were about to go live. There's a power outage in the room we typically record from, so we're flipping it around. We're recording in here today. For those who are watching instead of listening, you're not going to see the rundown on the screen on the side per usual. We are going to talk about all my Twitter beefs from the past week. Those will come later on in the show. And we do timestamp the show as well. So if you want to see the full rundown, you can just go through the timestamps as well. We will get to all of the topics. Before we do, had a bunch of people reach out to me. Thank you very much for signing up for Underdog, by the way, our show sponsor here. But a lot of people reached out after the Super Bowl. They said, hey, I tried it out for the first time. It was great. Really unique game. Really fun, interesting, entertaining, engaging. Thank you very much for checking it out. For those who haven't, it's not too late. We still got basketball season going on. March Madness is coming up. Hockey season. Baseball is starting soon as well. So if you haven't checked out Underdog yet, it's a very different type of betting game. And, you know, you're just going higher, lower on certain players. It's very easy to use, very easy to navigate. Great deposit bonuses as well. So check them out. You can use code CIRCLES when you sign up, or just click that link down in the description below. That's really easy as well. But if you got a little bit of boredom, now that football's over, you can go to other stuff, play games on other stuff, support Underdog Sports. Myself, I got Kirk Evans over here to my right, Jeff Feinberg sitting across from me. One more thing before we get into the show today. We're launching something new here at the Hammer. It's actually being called Kirk's Hammer. I think that was just put in place by like a developer as like, I don't even know the origin story of this.
No, Kirk's Hammer was just the first thing I thought of.
Okay, so you thought of this.
I thought of it. I'm taking credit. Kirk's Hammer, weekly newsletter coming out, just mostly talking about betting stories that have happened to me personally, and kind of things that I find interesting that are going on. The first newsletter will be about pricing LeBron's 10 plus points, very relevant. A lot of talk of it in the spaces, so I took that one on.
All right, so we got a link in the description as well. If you want to check out Kirk's Hammer for free, link is in the description down below. But a lot of people always messaging, they're like, who is this Kirk Evans guy? Why is he talking shit about these people? Kirk is a really good bettor. We've interviewed him here on Circles Off before. He's been part of many episodes in the past before starting with us for Circle Back. You'll get a lot of good insights out of the newsletter. So hit that link in the description below. Subscribe for Kirk's Hammer. Doesn't cost you anything. It's going to be in your inbox weekly. Check it out. I'm sure you'll learn something from that. All right, boys, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Super Bowl. We're 2 days removed now when this is coming out. And I'm not going to give like a full Super Bowl recap, the X's and O's, and Vic Fangio never sent the blitz or whatever. But it's kind of like a pretty big letdown game, I think, just from like a neutral point of view, unless you're such a big Chiefs hater nowadays, Jeff, maybe like yourself, that you were just in the, you're shaking your head like you're not the biggest Chargers fan in the world.
Yeah, but I respect the Chiefs when they win, but when they lose, like, I can enjoy that. I had a lot on the Eagles. Mm-hmm. You know, Jalen Hurts everything, like I told you last week, and so it all came up me. If there was room, I'd flap my peacock feathers right now, because last night was spectacular. The Chiefs fans, think about what the last 3 years have been. Like, even since Taylor Swift started dating the guy.
Yeah.
Like, she hadn't even seen them lose anything like that ever.
True.
You know, so Chiefs fans should still be standing and applauding. But simultaneously, they deserved to watch every second of that game. Like, every moment of that game, they deserved. That is how I feel. Two things can be true. what I just said, and I'm a loser Chargers fan. Like, that doesn't mean one isn't true. Like, that doesn't mean just because I'm a loser Chargers fan, the first part isn't true.
They're not mutually exclusive, basically. Yeah.
So that's all. I had a great time. I get if the game's boring, but there's 100 props to keep you entertained all night.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it was a betting game where
Well, I mean, I honestly root for the prop I give out on the Forward Progress Super Bowl prop extravaganza every year is the one I root for the hardest because it's like a big public one that I gave out, and I had first position to score a touchdown as wide receiver. So Dotson going in there, I'm like fist pumping at my party, and they're like, "Did you win a bunch of money?" I'm like, "Well, I won, but like not a ton." Or it's just I gave this out, and then I watched the replay, and I'm like, "Oh."
Credit to you for that stream. It was 5 hours. You clearly weren't feeling well. At moments, it seemed like you were powering through. But I watched a lot of it. And by a lot of it, I probably mean the whole thing, at least was on. And there was like a clear delineation, I think, some point in my turn where like you went from like not feeling well to feeling horrible. And maybe it's because like the bag of milk made you dizzy. But my pick, like you literally like got paler and looked greener, and my first instinct was like, Rob hates my pick. I even said that to you. I'm like, what's wrong? And you're like, I don't even know what you just said. And then by the time you were done with whoever was on after me, like you were like gone. So I didn't think, and my pick won. But at first I thought like my pick made you like go pale.
Yeah, I don't like listen. I don't want to do like the whole woe is me thing. People do 5-hour shows all the time. But when doing a 5-hour show, when you're legitimately like battling through big time sickness, you just hit a point where you're like, it's a mental game. Like you're talking to yourself and you're like, you can do it. You can do it. But then you get to a point where you're like, you can't do it. Like this is.
But a real 5-hour show, like a radio, like a classic mornings, they'd have been like 20 minutes of commercials an hour that you could have like tried to recalibrate yourself.
By the way, Jason's not here today. We'll get back in the Super. This is Super Bowl adjacent, okay? But this guy, he was all week was like Moretto, Pizzola. You got to let me give one of the picks. We're giving 30 picks. You got to let me be the guy that gives one of the picks, okay? We finished 15-15. I believe we lost. I want to say 0.15 units or 4.5 units. We lost relatively a small amount, okay? Which fine, I'm okay. Like I'm transparent. I talk about it at the top of the show. You don't have to tail every pick. You do whatever the hell you want to do. It's your money. You bet. But this guy all week is like, I got to give a pick. I got to give a pick. You know what he comes out with? He picks KC money line. He didn't even give a prop. He went to the market that is the biggest, like the most efficient at the time. KC money line. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. He doesn't even give like a rationale for anything. What an absolute embarrassment that was by Jason. It's not happening again.
And it would have been a winning day if for not that pick, and that line steamed against him a ton pregame.
It was just
a
horrendous.
ton.
I mean, listen, I don't want to blame it like, for it being a losing. Like lots of people 15 people gave losing picks, including
not
myself.
us. Not us.
You guys.
I was 0-3 going into the day, so I was desperate. And like Rob, like it was like even though the same money I had on other bets, I needed that bet. I needed it. It was Hurts over yards, long rush, and he's the man. He was the man.
The bet I gave out was by far my biggest bet of the day as well, so that I was sweating it hard for many
You were getting
reasons.
roasted because you gave out Barkley no touchdown.
Yeah, I got killed. They said worst bet ever given. That was the entire stream.
KC money, that is inexcusable. At least find a prop that people are interested in.
Especially in the context of like begging to join the prop show.
Well,
Without if you're like, Jason, come on, we need you. Okay, I guess you have to accept what he gives. But when he is like sending you sweet nothings all week that you need to include him, and then you include him, and he gives you a side.
I consume a lot of content during Super Bowl week as well. During football season, I consume a ton, and I might consume content from like maybe an outlet that I don't respect, or a person that I know is not a winning bettor, but they might actually throw something out there, and I'll be like, you know what, that's a great bet. And that happened many times on our stream. Like Captain Jack came on really early, and he gave out the Eagles to have more time of possession.
Genius.
I'm like, oh, this is a great handicap.
Yeah.
I never even looked at
crushed.
right, and you get that, but like nobody is gonna tune in and watch Jason give out Chiefs money line and be like, oh yeah, you know what? That's a great argument for, I'm going to go and bet like, it defeated the purpose.
Totally. Inexcusable pick to give.
Is it more inexcusable than buying a half point, I think it was, on the total?
He won. He won.
Crushed.
He crushed it. It was miles over.
I mean, if he didn't buy that half point, I mean, I think it would have been tight, but thankfully he did.
His look on that show,
I don't even understand.
my jaw hit the ground.
Just if you don't know, we're referring to Matt Zilbert. I think it was his first public video appearance giving a pick. I knew it would break the internet, which is why I wanted to have him on. And I didn't want to, like...
I didn't understand that they had such good Wi-Fi in the tunnels of Gaza.
Oh, God, Jeff.
I've never seen... Have you ever heard of a playoff beard? Like, what do you mean? Like, for your favorite team, you're on the team? No, like, I'm running good. It is...
I'm going to defend him right now.
Listen,
There's been many times where I haven't shaved because I've been running good. I'll tell you that right now. There have been times where my wife is like, you look disgusting. I could see these gray hairs in your beard. This is you look like a homeless person. I'm like, Diana, we have had such a good month. If I shave this, it's over.
I didn't even notice the beard. I couldn't get past I don't even, faux hawk, would you call it? And then why were his glasses so low? Like, his glasses were so low that it seemed like he was looking out the top of it.
I gotta say, overall, though, he gets a win from me. Just proving he's real and not just his Avi's, not just like a picture from that's in a picture frame before you put your own picture in it.
Yes.
Like, I didn't know if this is a actual identity. Like, so he gets the win. He won his prop, and almost in just revealing himself, I give him a win.
I think he might have been sitting on the floor. Did you guys notice that?
I don't know.
I look back on it and it's really hard to tell.
Really strange setup.
It was a weird setup because he was really low. Like, look at where the light switch was relative to where he was. He was below the light switch. There was no backing on a chair. It was unusual, but you know what? Credit where it's due. Guy won his bet. He's now documented 11-2 on Super Bowl totals last 13 Super Bowls, which means he's probably 11-3 last 14.
Where is that documented?
It's documented.
Whatever.
In his brain.
Documented somewhere.
Oh.
I don't think he's lying. Maybe he is.
I don't think he's lying.
He
does not strike me as a liar.
It would be a great way to prove it is by documenting it.
Well, that too, but like...
Then we would know for sure.
He takes great pride in being this Super Bowl totals, self-proclaimed Super Bowl totals king.
Yeah, I saw this back and forth.
I don't think he's lying.
On Twitter with him and Sharp Clark, where Sharp Clark was like, we bet, like, people who win, like, they bet real money on there. And he was just like, I'm paraphrasing here, by the way, like, I don't care about the money. I care about the accolades and, like,
clout.
He cares about the clout.
Which actually, now that you hear him say that, it like fills a lot of empty gaps.
Yes.
In how he goes about going to other people who are like, I don't need you bugging me. I just won, like, on this game. I put a fortune on it. I want it. Like, I'm proud. I don't need to prove anything to you.
Yeah.
And he's like, no. If you want internet clout, you better prove something to me.
Yeah.
But also, like, he's saying he does it for the accolades, but, like, what accolades has Matt Zilbert?
I don't know.
But he's not. But
nobody. Here's the thing that's funny. Like, the way that he's handled his account for all these years, just jumping into, like, he's obviously searching his name on Twitter. He's jumping into conversations where he's not tagged, but he has earned nobody's respect. So he's not getting the accolades that he wants because of the way he handles himself. I will say, I thought that was a way more normal interaction and than what I was expecting it to be because of his Twitter persona. I'm like, who is this guy gonna be?
So I've said about the Twitter persona, there's people that I've literally had gone longer few things with on the internet where I'm like, I would absolutely still have a beer with that person. And I'd always say the thing, Zalbert is like, I don't want to be within 100 yards of that person.
Yeah.
After seeing it, I'm like, okay, if I saw him, I have a beer with it.
Yeah.
It's just like that. My other perception is kind of gone. Like, I've lessened on that, true disdain for the internet persona of the guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I know where you're at. For Super Bowl, for me, I forgot how much of a hectic, like anxiety-filled day the Super Bowl is for me. And this happens every year for me on a personal level. And I Jeff, your experience is probably very different than mine. This is not to like demean in any way, but like I'm out in the afternoon. It's my sister-in-law's 40th birthday weekend. You know, we're doing some family stuff on that day. And I get a call from some guy who's like, hey, I got like this info that I need bet out immediately. And he's talking and I'm like, this is a very compelling game. And this is coming from like someone who's like, I'm like, how much of a fill do you want? He's like, all of it. Like just fill as much as humanly possible using this information. So I'm in like this mad scramble mode. But at the end of it, he gets to, I need you to bet as much as you can on the anthem over. I'm like, anthem over? I'm like, I know the rehearsal times for the anthem. He's like, yeah, that's not, it's going to be 2 minutes and 6 seconds. And like he's like, you got 1:59, 2 minutes? I'm like, yeah, that's the rehearsal time. He's like, no, it's 2 minutes and 6 seconds. I'm like, here we go. Every year. He's like, oh, by the way, the Gaelic Reed color is going to be this as well. I'm like, well, that's not what I'm hearing. And this happens every friggin' Super Bowl. It gets to like an hour before kickoff. And I'm in mass panic of like, is the information that I bet good? Do I have to get off of this and that? And I got to tell you, the stress I feel leading up to this, it's bad. How do we not have a universal time for why are there so many different house rules? Can we not, as an industry, just decide it's from the first word spoken to the last word spoken? Like that seems like to me it should be totally acceptable. First word or to maybe like the end of the first brave. But like simple as that. Why are some sites now judging based off of like when the music kicks in or when the music, what is this? And by the way, on the Super Bowl broadcast, I do love the flyover or whatever, but don't cut away from the guy while he's singing the final words of the anthem. Like, let's see when it actually stops rather than, anyways.
And it's a flyover on a dome, which is always weird to me.
Yeah.
It's always just optically like.
It does make no sense.
Time that's happened. Like, it happens a lot, but it always gets
You don't
me.
even see it. Like, you're in the stadium, you don't even know the
It's for
flowers
TV,
happen.
I guess, right?
Yeah.
But with those props, like I do think with legalization, there needs to be some sort of order. Like you're saying, the halftime show, similar to you, I got a message of what the songs are gonna be. It was pretty out there. And GNX was the first song on the set list. DraftKings tweets GNX as the first song on the set list, then grades GNX as a loss to squabble up, and then edits their own tweet, GNX out of the set list, and it's still graded as a loss. Like, but
it's got to be universal. It either happened or it didn't.
Other sites have GNX graded as a win. Like, it just, there needs to be some sort of standard.
That happened the year before with Usher. It felt like the first beat was something, and then it went right into something else.
There was some like quick like 5 to 7 second intro where he said lyrics from another song or something like that. I don't. You know, my wife messages me. She's like, "Did we win the anthem?" I'm like, "I have no clue." I don't. She's like, "What do you mean? You have no clue?" I'm like, "Well, I timed it on my phone. It was the time that I received. I have no idea how this is going to be graded." And
where are you even able to get in on it?
It's way lower than it used to be. So I don't want to like.
Even at way lower,
everywhere, Jeff.
They give me like $100.
Yeah, on one account, they will give you $100 for sure.
It's a lot of like text messages to a lot of people. $100, like.
The amount of dollars I had on the anthem this year was $7,800 across many, many different spots, and I worked hard to get that.
What's the most you can get in at one spot?
It depends.
You can also parlay it with stuff.
I don't mean this to be cryptic, but this is like
it's fair.
You could be cryptic on this as someone that provided me information that allowed me to like in the good old days.
Yeah.
Super smash anthems. I'm forever in debt. I just like now for me, it's not even like the effort to do it isn't even worth the bring home, at least on my end. And I know you work in a completely different world, but I got a lot of books. I can't get it.
Well, PPH is still the spot, but then you
Some
give
of my
yourself.
PPHs don't even have it though. They
I know.
caught on. I took them for too much over the years.
And also, you end up in situations where they're just free rolling themselves a lot of times, anyways, because you'll win it and then they'll just void the wager, saying like known info or anthem time released early or anyways.
I wasn't trying to be. I wasn't trying to.
No. It's totally fine. You're right. And I've told the stories in my heyday
that was
before.
real work. Like after you got that in, you probably felt like that was a real fucking job.
It's not me betting it as
But
much.
I'm just saying,
it
like,
does. It's real work.
Yeah,
it's real work. It's worth it.
Yeah, no, of course.
Like, it's worth it, but it's real work. But yeah, to your point, like there's places where I definitely won the bet. They just graded as a lot. I'm not dealing with customer service for like oh, can you explain what your determination and posting the house? Like, I don't care at that point, but it just seems so stupid for the novelty props, especially because so many people like to bet this shit that there's not a standardized ruling across industry, halftime shows, stuff like that. Like, how is that not?
I actually had a scare on the halftime song, so I had over 10.5, and originally the spot I had the most with it graded it as a loss, and I was like, I counted every song, and there was 11. Yeah. What the hell's going on? Like, they did not count the first one because it wasn't technically a release song, and then thankfully by the fourth quarter it got corrected.
Yeah, but how can you say, I don't know where you bet it, to be fair, but I don't know how you could say that Squabble Up was the first song and there were 11 songs. It makes no sense.
Yeah, I don't know. It seemed like there was a lot of confusion.
There were 11 songs. I'm with you.
Yeah.
But Squabble Up just simply wasn't the first song.
Is there like a house rule? Like, if it's not like a release song, does that not count, or what? But
I'm dumb enough to think
it was good in the end. So whatever.
The site said that you bet $100 or something on the anthem. I don't want to shout it out, but on something so close, they'll just almost pay out both freaking sides. It's limited so much.
You would think that they might want to do that. Instead, they do the opposite.
It's before the game. A lot of these people will just re-roll it into something else.
Yeah. What did you guys think of the halftime show? Because I'm not like a... You guys know what I listen to. I listen to metal and like progressive metal and stuff like that. This is not... I know none of these songs, so I don't really have an opinion on that. But the opinions in my friend group from watching were extremely divided on this halftime show.
Interesting. I'm surprised divided. I felt like the people I was watching with, it was pretty standard that it was not very good. But and I truly believe this. I think I can know what the general perception of a halftime show will be with 99.9% certainty before it happens. A rapper, to me, is going to have a tough time in a halftime show because it's a performance, it's a show. Rappers have a harder time with that than like a really elite dancer or really elite singer. To me, the dancers are typically the shows that people are like, wow, this is really good.
Yes.
A very good singer as well. A rapper who people don't really know the words to the song, typically not going to be liked as much.
I liked it. I mean, I'm a Kendrick fan. I thought it was good. I thought the Not Like Us portion of it was really good.
But in fairness, there's like, who's ever gone to like a concert for an artist that they like?
Yes.
And came back and be like, oh, that was fucking dreadful.
Exactly.
Everybody loves if it's an artist you like.
Yeah.
It's really hard to make like an objective.
I've seen Kendrick live, so I like him.
For me, like what I thought it lacked the grandness of other halftime shows. Like you mentioned, like Jay-Z did a halftime show. Right? Or was it Snoop Dogg? It was Snoop Dogg, right?
It was Dr. Dre.
Dr. Dre, my bad.
Yeah.
Apologies.
Kendrick also.
Yeah, there were a lot of them.
That was like grand.
Yeah.
I felt. With the setup, the stage setup, everything to do with that, it felt big and like I couldn't really even look away.
This felt like a Cowboys Thanksgiving halftime.
Yeah,
as opposed
exactly.
to Super Bowl halftime.
Right.
I don't have an opinion on the music. I take my own extended halftime. I need air. Extra air because I know the halftime is extra.
You're yelling all first half so hard with all those Eagles big plays. You needed the air. You needed the air. Last thing, and then we'll move on in 1 second. Just very selfishly, I do want to point this out because I'm thinking about this last night, right? And I don't know how I never thought about this before. For people who don't know, I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan. I don't like dynasties in sports. People talk about the greatness of things all the time. I prefer like a little bit more parity and not knowing who's going to win every single year and stuff like that. So I never liked the Patriots dynasty. people will always accuse me in the comments of this show of like standing for the Chiefs. Rob's like this big Chiefs. I'm not a big Chiefs fan. I just think that it's like ridiculous that people think that everything that they've achieved has been like owed to the referees. I think that's an absurd take. But I gotta tell you, man, it's getting really painful with these Super Bowls because I want to root against these dynasties. It always happens to be the fucking Eagles or the Giants in these big games. And I cannot. The Patriots-Giants Super Bowls were horrendous for me. Last night, not only was it a shit game, but like I don't want either of when you're in a position where you like don't really want either of the teams to win, it kind of sucks the life out of the game a little bit, even before it starts. And I realized that in the very early going of that game yesterday, because the Eagles get the OPI penalty, and it's going to be, I'm like, here we go again. Like, it's going to be the Chiefs are getting all the support, That's going to be the discourse on Twitter, which, by the way, I will say, objectively, it didn't matter. Chiefs were losing that game. They sucked. They were going to lose, but they did not get the benefit of the doubt from refereeing in that game. It definitely was Eagles shaded.
There was a makeup. They gave the Eagles a makeup call in the next drive on the Goddard late hit. I don't want to say it changed the game, but it just, who knows how long the game could have been like a 0-0 slog.
Yeah.
In that sense, but hey, I was happy with it. I don't know. I'm with you. I think like most of America would have preferred to see like a different color on top of the cake last night in terms of like seeing the Lions or the Bills or just like something totally different than we got. But hey, I don't know. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
And the thing with the Chiefs is I never felt when they win the Super Bowl, at least before the season, that it's like theirs. Sure, it's like theirs to lose, but every year you always feel like they're vulnerable and they're going to get got. And then the playoffs come and they're so dominant.
It's true.
Last night it was great to see them get got.
At some point I'll be able to root for a team that's like not an NFC East team in the Super Bowl.
Hey, I'm with you, Rob. I'm a unknown thing, but my nickname has nothing to do with it. But I am a Giants fan, so
yeah, I know.
I would have comfortably had the Chiefs win again over the Eagles.
That's the problem. I can't. Cowboys. I don't care about the Commanders.
I don't hate the Chiefs, and I do hate the Patriots. So if it was Eagles Patriots, that was I felt that for that Super Bowl.
That was the only time I've ever cheered for the Eagles was the Nick Foles Super Bowl because I'm like, I can't do this again. I cannot do the Patriots again. I reached the point where I'm like, I can't. I think now they have two. I'd probably go back and say I could probably sit through another Patriots one, but at the time I probably felt the same. Yeah. On the topic of Super Bowl, I noticed all week long there was these tweets that were coming from these big Las Vegas accounts, Las Vegas locally. You can stay on the strip tonight at the Horseshoe or Link for $23 plus fees. Friday of Super Bowl weekend, something is broken, with screenshots that those were actually available. And then there was another Vegas account that tweeted something very similar. Vital Vegas. Casino execs across Las Vegas baffled and rattled by Super Bowl weekend falling off a cliff. Some are reporting losing days, multiple days this week. As our fellow kids say, oof. I do say oof a lot. So, I mean, wouldn't call myself a kid nowadays. But what do you guys make of this? Because I have some theories on why there's been this fall off for like the Vegas Super Bowl. I'm curious why you think that happens, Jeff.
Well, I also saw some other tweets saying that there were like empty tables like in main pits.
Yep.
On the weekend.
On the blackjack tables and craps tables.
I mean, listen, it's obvious. Like, the obvious reason is that you don't need to go there to make your bets. You can make them from anywhere. And then there's a lot of, like, ancillary reasons. Like, one silly reason I thought of, or maybe not so silly, is I think forever there's, like, people went to the Vegas for Super Bowl out of maybe a tradition. And this wouldn't be the only reason, but just a small thing. Last year, the Super Bowl was in Vegas. So that probably led a lot of people who like to just be in Vegas at Super Bowl to be like, you know what? We don't need to deal with that circus with the game actually in town.
Yeah.
We're going to do something else. And they realize staying at home, going to a friend's house, throw a great party. Actually, you make the bets on your phone. It actually no reason to fucking be there. Mm-hmm. I'll go there for the 100 different reasons why I want to be in Vegas over a calendar year. But Super Bowl, not mandatory.
How do people think that it's going to be Vegas of old when you can go on your phone, make bets? Like, it's just so much easier now. And watching the Super Bowl at home, is amazing.
Yeah.
It's the best.
You know what this is actually like people who at the top of Vegas who are like surprised. That's like telling me the cable TV execs are surprised that like people are watching less cable TV. Like everything naturally happening around us is pointing to this number getting smaller and smaller. And sure, there'll be things that lead to like bigger jumps, but the trend has been clearly headed this way.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Like, I had a friend invite me out to he watched at the Win this year, which he does like every other year, and he's like, come out for the Friday or the weekend and stay for the game. And I was like, I'm not gonna do that. Like, I have no interest in. And part of it's probably my age. I think maybe if I was in my 20s, might be a different story. I'm in my late 30s now, but I feel like there's also just like this an oversaturation with Vegas events now too. I think part of it was the Raiders moving to Las Vegas. You now have the stadium there. You're gonna have WrestleMania there next. You have so many events over the course of the year where you could go to Vegas for. You now have the Formula One in Vegas every single year. I go to Vegas every single year for Bet Bash, and to me, there's like this oversaturation of events now.
And it's the easy one to just, if you gotta lose, it's like the first one that's gonna get cut.
For me, it's simple. It's like, because I'm gonna be with all my buddies. That's another part of it as well. And this is not to each their own. I don't mean this to come across in the way it's gonna come across, but if for some people this is would be a very, very expensive trip. A Super Bowl weekend in Vegas, right? Like, I can't go with my buddies and have a great time because they're gonna be up against it just for like the hotel usually, not this year, but for like the cost of that week alone or weekend alone, it's just different.
But now maybe it's a value play.
It could be
after
now.
Seeing this, it's like, you know what?
Yeah.
This is what's going to happen. Maybe this is, let's go do it cheaper.
Yeah.
And I've never done Super Bowl in Vegas.
I've never done Super Bowl play in Vegas.
I don't know. People throw great. My wife throws an incredible party. I go to Vegas for other reasons. I don't need to go for betting props.
Yeah. I think the allure is kind of gone, which is sad. For me, like a little bit. I have no connections to Vegas. Like, I didn't grow up there. I don't live there. I don't even really bet there. Like, other than it's just like one of the meccas of gambling, right? But it is kind of sad that like they can't even attract people to like the mecca of gambling anymore for the biggest game of the year. And it does have to be looked into a little bit, I would say.
I just think they kind of need to adjust what Vegas is. Like, I kind of like you said, I don't think it's for necessarily those big events. Like, for me, I know I'd way rather go to Vegas for a random weekend than the Super Bowl weekend, because to me, the Super Bowl weekend is already so great.
Yeah.
Why am I going to Vegas?
Yeah.
Bing,
But like,
bong.
You nailed it.
Like yesterday, my wife, I already, like 1 o'clock, signing out, going for like party starting. And she accepts it as part of
100%.
life. Why would I burn my trip weekend when I get, literally, I'm signing off, I'm checking out.
You're thinking, man. That's the way to think about it. Yeah, I found it really interesting because I saw tons of these. We just highlighted 2 in the show this week, and even my buddies who were there were telling me this week it's kind of dead.
People were saying the lineup to like the line for tickets to bet was like 1/3 of the line, how long you would wait in the line to get your tickets made.
Yeah, I will say too, like there's an inherent risk that you get a game that you got this year as well, which makes it suck even more, right? Like I've had amazing Vegas watch party experiences. My favorite one, which I'll never forget, I was there for playoffs one year. It was for a friend's bachelor party. He's a big Steelers fan. It was Steelers-Jags playoff game.
Bortles, yeah.
Bortles.
Beat 'em.
Okay? I was in the sports book at the Cosmo. It's a small book, but it was fucking jammed, and it was amazing. It was split like 50-50 fans cheering for... You got an amazing, high-scoring game, back and forth. There's almost nothing that beats that type of experience. When you get a great game and you're watching with a crowd like that, where the crowd is very split, it's one of the best experiences ever. But you get a game like KC Philly, where pretty much everyone in the world knows the game is over in the second quarter. Like not even the people who are always live betting Mahomes when they're down are even doing that at that. They're like, this is
it was too far.
This is like, there's no chance. This is like, you get one of those games, that's just miserable. Like it just puts such a huge damper on your trip. You're going home, you're like, oh yeah, I was in Vegas for the Super Bowl that year, 8 years ago or whatever, and it's like, which game was that? And you're like, oh, the one that was like Eagles, Chiefs, like worst game ever type of game. Like you run that risk as well, which obviously you do with any live event, but that's not to say don't go, but that's part of it. I'll tell you who didn't have a poor Super Bowl though, like Vegas did, at least from an attendance perspective. He had maybe the week of his life. George Riley Panagakis, GRP Wins. Listen to this week. They named a prop bet after him on Caesars. He was able to bet his own prop, which was roster defensive player wins Super Bowl MVP and Chiefs win by 13 to 18 points.
Okay, sorry, before we go any further, I have to comment. I left it in for a reason. The one on the left is the unedited post by GRP. So he knows enough about his phone to be able to open it and cross out his ticket ID, but not enough to press the done button in the top right corner so that it's a clean screenshot. This is one of the most boomer things I've ever seen.
My dad
I didn't even realize that was your point. I thought you were saying he specifically didn't edit out the amount in his betting account.
Yeah, the account
he was trying
balance.
to flex
he
it.
did edit out the tickets. You can see here, but he could have pressed done, and then he would have had the clean screenshot of it.
See, the funny thing is, like, GRP has really been doing, I think, all of these things, including a lot of these long shot Super Bowl bets, in my opinion, for fame, for clout. Yeah. Like, he wants to be he loves when people talk about it, and it happened.
Well, here's the thing, like, that's why, like, if according to Zalbert, like, George is king. Like, the amount of clout that he received, even in those losing bets.
Yeah. I think Guy in the Cornfields was the first to notice because he's like, you've got to be kidding me, GRP Wins. This is actually a real bet at Caesars. But, like, for Caesars to actually, post that as by the way, great marketing move. Because if you post something about GRP, it's going to get out there no matter what. But I found that hilarious.
So he's got, like, a floor level, like, hardcore base that as long as you talk about him, there's, like, a minimal traction.
Well, if you were working in marketing and you're like, hey, listen, if we feature this guy in any way, like, all we have to do is throw a random prop up here that, at horrible odds, by the way. You see that what that prop bet was at 85 to 1?
Unbelievable.
And they're like, he's going to talk about it. And he's betted himself. He betted himself. Then, Spinfluencer notes, did I just read about GRP in an ESPN article? ESPN interviewed him about his bet on Sam Darnold. To win the comeback player of the year. Panagakis was so confident in Darnold, he placed $1,000 worth of bets on him to win the award. He had a great week, and I said, boy, this guy was a high draft pick. He's got a shot. The Vikings got talent at wide receiver. I'm not just throwing darts. I'm making picks for reasoning. I think he's a legitimate candidate.
I'm not just throwing darts.
He had a great week. Is like such a funny reason to brag about. A great week one is such a funny reason to brag about a season-long future.
Yes. There's way more to his week, though. He won Josh Allen MVP. He obviously has the infamous loss from a year ago where Joe Flacco won comeback player of the year. He's watching. It coined one of the funniest sports betting memes of all time with George looking at the camera and saying, "Are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me?" I don't remember how much he said he lost on that. He's like, I lost $8,100 on Joe. Are you fucking kidding me?
He had so many hedges on it too.
It was the
Flacco was the only guy he didn't have.
Market cornered.
But
market cornered. Yes, it was the market corner.
He got his Josh Allen MVP this year. We were treated to a 1-minute video of him dancing in front of the TV screen. Some sort of shuffle. I don't really know what it was, but he was really happy about it. That was huge for him. He got agreement from Rufus on one of his Super Bowl bets. He had a 75 to 1. Will a offensive player...
A bet that we roasted on the show last week.
Yes.
Rufus comes in and says, no, GRP, onto something.
It was, will a player throw a...
Catch his own pass.
Catch his own pass, yeah.
That was
so the prince decided to ride or die with the frog on that bet. So that is very impressive. It was all coming up George.
I did say, I saw Rufus said, like, I'm on Team GRP, tweeted a picture, said he priced it, I think, at 66 to 1. I was exchanging texts with Rufus that night. I don't agree with the price. He did price it. Like, there was a method to the madness, and, like, he went through historical data. I think that he missed some stuff that was particular to each team that would have affected the pricing in some way. Like, for example, the Eagles being a run-heavy team was, like, one thing. The Chiefs playing at a slower pace, so less plays overall. I think all of that mattered. But ultimately, he did take a shot at pricing him, got the agreement. So GRP gets the agreement from Rufus. Then not only that, you know how live... He had the Carson Wentz to take a snap in the game.
Oh my! I thought he had it.
Which
When
was
he
so.
came in, I thought he had
I still cannot believe Carson Wentz didn't take a snap in the game. There was a point on the sideline. I swear to God, I thought Mahomes said to Wentz, "I'm not going back in." I'm not. I saw it. I'm not imagining this. This happened. He looked, and then he went back in on the next possession. I don't know.
And threw a touchdown.
He did throw a touchdown.
It's probably because they started the ball at midfield.
Yeah.
If the Eagles punted that to like the 8 with the minute left or whatever, maybe. But now that they're at midfield with like a minute, he's like, no, I'm going to come throw a Super Bowl touchdown.
It was an incredible week for this guy.
Because
He nearly hit the all-time.
Like the whole backdoor stat line.
Yeah.
I think he also had Cooper DeJean Super Bowl MVP. I could be wrong there, but...
That wouldn't surprise me. He bet a lot of defensive players.
Bet a lot of defensive players. Took his pick 6 back.
He was
Like, if
live.
he hits one of those,
He was
he's...
live.
He did win $500 on the like for all the bets that he put that were, in my opinion, incredibly negative EV. He did win on the Super
Which
Bowl,
is kind of impressive.
yeah,
Once you're throwing so much away for like...
for clout,
Yeah.
basically.
Well, he said, like, I need to hit one. If I hit one of these, you guys can never make fun of me again, which is really such a great freaking line.
You think that was actually going to happen, though? Obviously, it's
No.
not going to happen.
It's
Like, who is
not
this shtick going to be till the end of time? He hits a huge long shot, like final score, exact final score, and any single time somebody says something negative about him in the future, his response is going to be like,
Listen,
well,
Yes,
I hit this
I
bet.
think that's exactly what would happen.
I always let Benson know, like, it's no secret. George is a needle mover. George moves product. I swear to this, I said it to Jeff. I had a couple friends literally join Circus Survivor last year, and I quote, they wanted to be in the contest that George is in. End quote. And obviously they had a great time. We're going to do it again. Like, they'll do it again, but
Right.
their, like, germ of entry was GRP.
Yeah.
And
moves product.
Clearly, the market agrees that he's a needle mover because ESPN put him in his article and Caesars put a random prop up called the GRP prop.
Do we know who wrote the article?
I don't know.
Because you know sometimes like traders are really busy on Super Bowl week. Like I'd imagine Purdom, who's like the head of ESPN's gambling content, was probably so busy Super Bowl week.
Yeah.
Someone else must have like if he did write it, I would be shocked.
Mm-hmm.
Someone else must have like just. We'll get this guy. He's always talking about it. We'll get him in. And Purdom must have had like a heart attack when he saw George being quoted.
So the real issue I have with George, right, is that I actually quite like George. I find him entertaining. But once every 3 months, he's going to say something that's going to have me like, I'm going to be like, ooh.
Teams,
like,
not numbers. Sure, things.
No, not even that stuff. Like
the Kai Trump.
Like the Kai, you know, like,
Yeah.
and then like going on the spaces and like, you know, him and Blez are talking about how that like the laws for underage, like I'm like, I don't want
Yeah, George is
like,
not George.
right.
No.
Like,
Yeah.
And if he could clean up that side of things, like I don't even care. He obviously has a hyper fixation on certain people in the space as well that he thinks are like pretenders. One is Chernoff, Pamela Maldonado. He's always tweeting. Like, he has like. He's got his
Well, he also hates women.
that's a part of it too. Like sometimes it comes
Like
across
you
as
said, you know that by his Christmas gift to his mom. Like he's just not. No, I'm just like that just seems a matter of fact. I know all enough of George puzzle pieces to know yeah.
like I didn't have him on the Super Bowl stream this year, the prop stream, and
Next year, 2 days.
Well, there's a few things. For one, he's always going to show up on his phone and he's going to walk around and he's going to lose reception like 4 times during the 10-minute span.
You hate that? I'd be like, I would enjoy it very much, but I get why you would hate it.
I hate it so much. Like when you're hosting a show like that for 5 hours, you want to be in control. Like, you want as many things to go according to plan. I'll tell you, Joey Toons was supposed to be like our 3rd guest.
Okay.
Yeah.
He was on a fucking flight back home. How did this guy not account for that he was going to be on a flight? So we're now having to push everyone up. I got to get Jason to make like, doing that stuff on the fly is really, really annoying. Then, Toons, I love Toons. Don't get me wrong. Like, I've interviewed him on Circles Off before. I've known him for a long time. I consider him a friend. We chat pretty regularly, but he's like, I'm not coming on without having like one of my traders on with me. I'm like, why? We have it's 1-on-1 for the entire thing. Now
But
we have
it's
to
not
set
even
up
like
a
the
3.
trader brought anything. Like,
Well,
the trader was fine. Like,
Yeah.
seems like a nice guy. Good. He's got traders, but it's not like the trader added something that Joey.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand, but like, I talk to his traders every day. Like, I have a signal chat with them. We deal with each other. I'm like, you know, and I'm not dealing with this in real time. Moretto is, but like, I don't want the chaos.
Yeah.
And Zalbert was like a calculated risk, but I knew he would take it seriously.
Yeah.
I knew he was going to show up and take it.
So you think George doesn't take it seriously?
He's too much of a
He
calculator.
doesn't have. You think he has a PC desktop? Like, what are we talking about?
He showed one time on the stream because he walked to his I'm like, George, why do you always do everything on your phone and no? And he's like, I have a computer. Do you want to see it? Before I could even say
No.
he was already walking down to the basement, losing reception.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, so he does have one. I just don't know. Anyways, long story short, congratulations, George, on the Super Bowl wins. It was a great week for you. I'm very happy for you. People think I'm rooting against everyone in the space. I get that all. Oh, Rob's rooting. I like seeing success stories just as much as I like battling it out as well. So congratulations to George on that. Speaking of battling it out, we led with Twitter Spaces for the last couple of weeks. And now we're going to get into the Twitter Spaces portion of the conversation. And it's actually really tough to segment this show because last week there's just like spaces every night. There's multiple spaces now. I prefer to focus on the ones that Elf is running because they're the largest in the space right now. And because of, I'll call out for what he's very good at getting the right people on nowadays and causing a stir. So I didn't know this was going to happen when Ariel Epstein tweeted this last week, but she tweeted, why I bet on myself now and built Prop Queen Sports, a thread. She said, most people don't know I've been unemployed for a few months now. I'm not the type to post about it because I just put my head down and work harder. For years, I worked in an industry built on contracts, meaning every few years I had to worry about whether I'd have a job. This thread then continues on, and she introduces her new website, and she got a lot of, so I'm just gonna speak this from my perspective. I thought the response to this was overwhelmingly positive when I go through the comments. Like if I'm just ratioing it, I'd say 95% positive. Lots of people coming in that she has good relationships with, congratulating her on like this new endeavor in the space. There was negativity, as there is in every single Twitter one. And she decided she was gonna record a video that was explaining why, she did what she did, and kind of peel back the curtain a little bit on what she did, called out some of the trolls and the haters in the video as well. And I think Elf saw this and he said it'd be a great idea to get Ariel on to talk about this. Furthermore, she did tweet out a very viral video, which was the coin toss for the Super Bowl and presenting facts about the historical coin tosses of the Super Bowl. Like, did you know, and I'm paraphrasing here, 52% of the Super Bowls in the past landed on heads or whatever. And this set people off more, I think more than the actual selling.
Yeah, this was the thing that caught fire.
Yeah. Spinfluencer said this has to be a joke.
She wasn't on Elf's radar for starting a Prop Queen
newsletter.
site. It was this tweet this video on the coin toss that sort of put her on the now you must defend yourself on an elf space.
Okay. I don't know the motivations for, but yes, this became very viral. Which actually was the intention of the video. Listening to her speak about this on the spaces, it actually was the intention to get a viral video out there. She explained that this video in particular, she's like, listen, like I was just giving out information, but I talked to other TikTokers. They were saying like, you got to have a hook in the beginning of the video, this and that. So her intention was to put out a viral video. It worked. But people saw this and said like, oh my God, you're giving advice on the Super Bowl coin toss. You got to be an idiot to do something like this. And it blew up into wildfire. By the way, someone else gave out I just threw this in there here to throw shade. Warren Sharp also produced a flip of the coin. It wasn't, I don't see much of Warren Sharp stuff nowadays. I actually try to avoid it at all costs. But in fairness, there were other people out there that did do this as well.
That's insane.
Do you know how Warren Sharp did on the Super Bowl, Rob?
I do know how he did on the Super Bowl. I did not ask Jacob to tee me up on this. Now it looks like I did.
Okay, but if someone didn't know and wanted to find out, would there be a way to see that?
Did Warren post it himself?
It is my understanding that he did not win any of the bets he released on Super Bowl. That I cannot confirm or deny.
Where's that tracked?
I don't think it's tracked anywhere. Many people reached out to me privately on Twitter to let me know that all of his bets that he released lost. Anyways, okay, we'll steer back towards Ariel. So I'll paint the picture for you guys because the night that Ariel was on this Spaces, I was near death. Okay? This is not an exaggeration. I was sitting on my shower floor sitting on because I was too weak to stand. I don't know what hit me. I think I had a combo of norovirus and COVID at the same time. This is what I think. I've never felt as bad as I did. And then in this moment, when this Spaces was starting, I'm like, I cannot speak on this. I brought my Bluetooth speaker into the shower. I played I had the Spaces playing. I'm just sitting, I'm stuffed. I'm like, I can't. And so he introduces Ariel, Elf does. She gives her whole spiel of like, okay, she presents the facts. Here's why I started this. He gives her the floor to talk about it. Listen, there's a lot of startup costs that are involved with launching a site like this. I spent $5,000 to get it off the floor. I got a newsletter I'm paying $90 a month for email sends and stuff like that. She gives the entire context. And then I'm expecting people to come in one by one and like really go at her. Okay. And there was a lot of questions that I thought were going to be asked to her. And I knew Spinfluencer was not going to be in the Spaces that night because he had said it that morning. And here's what already bothered me about this whole thing, okay? He made it very clear to Ariel that he was not going to be able to join that night because he had something to do. This is public. He put it out there. He said, I'll see you Saturday on the Spaces. They flipped this to the night where he couldn't participate in it. So already I was... Elf. I was like, okay, you know what? Elf does this. He's not stupid.
He puts his finger on the scale.
Yes.
Well, he also knows that Ariel is the draw, not Spinfluencer.
And if she's willing to talk today, I got to get her on because tomorrow she could bail.
100%.
Yes,
so
exactly.
Let's just call it out for what it is.
We're talking both sides here. Why he did it?
I like Elf. Okay, I'm probably gonna be in Boston and meet up with him in like a few weeks as well. He's a good kid, but I
think he's a smart. I think he's a bright kid.
Oh,
like
100%.
Like he's knows what he's doing here.
I think to get some of the people on the Spaces, and I'm speaking an opinion, not a fact. I think he's protecting them in some way and saying like, hey, you know what? I got your...
Protecting, yes, but I don't think he's wearing much protection because he's probably out there getting a pregnancy test right now. The way some of these people have straight up fucked them. Like he lets them come in there and put it in. So he is probably like he might be pregnant.
I didn't know we were going there.
No, he could be pregnant. The way he's been taking it, like openly, like wanting to take it.
Yeah.
From some of these people, like he could be pregnant with Bo's baby.
Yeah.
That's kind of just my point.
Okay.
And Ariel could put on a strap on and he could take it. Like that. Some of that
images I don't want in my head, but I understand where you're going.
Throw that in with the T-math from a week ago. It's just like a consistent trend.
Yes.
That being said, Rob, I am not probably on your side as to where you're about to go here.
Okay, so well, you just hear me out. So I'm gonna the example I could think of how this entire event went down. Spoiler alert, okay? If you haven't seen Game of Thrones yet, I'm gonna spoil some stuff in Game of Thrones, okay? I felt like Jon Snow in the scene where he gets murdered by the Night's Watch. Where like Ollie comes into his like, Jon Snow's working at night. I don't know what the fuck he's doing by candlelight, but Ollie's like, oh, like they found your Uncle Benjen. He's alive. And John's like, are you sure it's Ben? That was Kanish messaging me like this space is starting. You got to get it. Like it's like alerting me to something. I'm like, okay, let's go. And then I get there, and I'm like, where is? And I walk in, and just one by one, it's like all the people that I love are just like fucking stabbing. Like it started with the floor opens for questions, okay? And Kanish comes on. He tosses like a couple lob balls. Hey Ariel, big fan, like this and that. And I toss a couple lob balls, and I'm like, okay, I wonder where he's going with this. And she answers a couple questions like, oh, thank you very much for the answers. Like, I'm looking forward to what you're doing. Like, he might as well just ask her out for like a fucking seafood dinner and a date or something. The way that entire conversation.
I had never heard Kanish so jovial.
What the hell was that? He's going in there with everyone else on these spaces. They're calling him Nish, by the way. Nish. This. He's going in. He's fucking chumming. He's going at NBA Green Beans. Him and Brett are like he's beefing with all these people. Oh, here, Ariel. Like, I just want to know about this. Okay, yeah, thank you very much. Have a good night. I'm like, oh, here we go. I'm like, okay, and I have no visibility as to it. I don't know who's speaking. I'm just listening in my shower. And I'm like, what the fuck? And then they're like, Elf's like, oh, Spanky wants to come in. I'm like, oh, Spanky, here we go. Fuck, yeah. Spanky's like, oh, Ariel, I don't know why you didn't ignore my messages to come to Bet Bash the first time around. But, everybody has a right to earn. And if you want to be at Bet Bash this year, we're more welcome to have you. I'm like, what the fuck?
He offered our panels.
Like, he also offered free travel and
I'm like, this
tickets,
is insane.
I believe.
I'm like, what is happening here? I'm like, is this guy he needs guests for Bet Bash so bad? I thought he was gonna come on and be like, because he's been vocal about touts beef. Where is this coming from now? Everybody has the right to earn. That's like another knife right there, fucking twisted knife from Spanky. Then they're like, Man of the Vig I'm like, Man of the Vig, here we go. Man of the Vig doesn't let anybody off the hook. Now, to Man of the Vig, F for this performance. He completely was fixated on the wrongs. He comes in there and he's like,
an interesting fella. I think I like him. I think he plays an important role. I think he hates me. I'm not sure. The role he plays, but he also thinks we're at like district court in some of these things.
Yes,
100%.
So he's like, what the fuck is this guy?
He's like the very mean-spirited cross-examiner. Like, he's the guy that when you hire like a 20-person defense team or whatever,
you know him?
I don't know him.
Do you know?
I've interacted with him privately.
ASL?
I don't want to speak on.
Sorry.
No. I just don't want to dox him in any way.
Okay, how about like one dox? Like, do you know if he has friends?
Yes, he has friends.
I don't mean this like for doxing purposes, but like
I'm not comfortable having this because the one thing he's asked me privately before is just like, don't reveal.
Isn't that convenient?
100%.
I gotta be showing.
But he has said his name on the spaces.
No, but he comes pretty.
Well, he said a name on the spaces, but that's an inside joke.
Is it?
The name he's given is a known scam artist.
One thing. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. And again, I think like the role he plays is important in all of it because someone's I think should play that role in there.
Yes.
But he's pretty fucking pretentious by a guy who's like totally fucking anonymous and wants to hold everyone else to like full account.
Okay.
That would be my take.
So here's where I just want to clear the record. Man of the Vig is not my friend.
I just want to know if he has like a real life.
Yeah, he's got a life. He's not my friend. I don't know everything about his. We've interacted before. Is all I will say. But I'm not
in real life.
I haven't talked to him in face to face like we're doing that. Right.
You have like intermediaries.
DM or on Telegram.
Yeah. We've had conversations about life, about things in the betting space. I find him to be at like the extreme level of like, if sometimes you can make me cringe when you're like.
Fair, okay.
You know what I'm saying? And that's what
I agree with that.
That's what this was for me, right? Because it was like, Ariel's like, she's starting to talk about prop bets she's making. Like, I bet this person over 11.5 rebounds because I made the line 12.5. And he's like, well, what's the probability difference between that? I'm like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? She's like, well, I bet the over 11.5 because I thought it should be 12.5. He's like, yeah, but what's the probability difference? I'm like, oh no. I'm like, this guy has lost the plot tonight. I'm like, this is going to turn against him real quick. I wouldn't even know how to fuck to answer that question. I bet NBA props every day. If the prop is 11.5 minus 110 and you make it 12.5 minus 110, fucking bet the over. Like, she doesn't need to know what the exact differential in probability is on it. Like, lost. Let down for me. Then we got Elf, by the way, who's interjecting every fucking 3 minutes in this entire thing. And just like, I'm like, here, again, what you were talking about, Jeff, with like the strap on and whatever. But finally, you know who gave me the fucking, the last death blow?
Who?
Ollie comes in right at the end. He gives the death blow to Jon Snow. The guy that he trusted the most. It was this fucking guy right here. Kirk, I hear Kirk Evans wants to come on. I'm like, yeah, let's go, Kirk.
My savior, he's gonna save you, Rob, in the shower.
All I wanted was just one quiet. All I wanted, this entire argument that she started, was built up on the premise that she never claims to be a winner, and not a single person asked her about frequent claims to be a winner. That's all I wanted someone to say, because her whole thing. The entire premise was, I built this site. I don't tell people I win at sports betting. I'm not a winning sports bettor. And once she said that, the stuff about her picket record, it doesn't matter anymore, because it's like she's like claiming that she's not a winning sports bettor, so her picket record doesn't matter. Who cares if you catch her losing? But it's all false. I was just waiting for that. But Kirk comes in and he's like, what are we talking about here? This product is like $17.99 a month or whatever. It doesn't even matter in the grand scheme of things. Let's move on. What are we doing? And I'm just there.
No.
Looks like she's doing. I'm going to defend Kirk in the sense. You know what? Sorry. I cut you off, Kirk.
Yeah,
you
well,
defend yourself.
That's not exactly what I said. So one, similar to what you said, she was getting peppered by Man of the Vig.
Yeah.
And I was defending her in the sense that she said, I took Hardenstein over 10.5 rebounds.
Whatever it was.
Or 11.5 rebounds plus 100. It closed minus 132.
Yeah.
And clearly throughout the whole stream, she was much more knowledgeable. I'm not saying she's a winning bettor.
She's very well spoken.
She was
very smart.
Well spoken.
Yeah.
And said good points that clearly she had a clue.
Yes.
And also the fact that so I think we need to delineate between touts. Like, no one is going broke paying $8 for Ariel Epstein's monthly newsletter.
And if 40 guys want to just the ability to have those picks and be able to send her a fucking DM that she'll respond to.
No,
yes.
That's what
guys,
they're
I'm not arguing that. Okay,
wait, but let me delineate.
Yeah.
The way you go broke is the Bo Wagner model of, okay, maybe the Discord's $50, but he's saying, 10-unit mega whale. We're chasing our losses with a 30-unit mega whale. And people think that this is the right way to bet and increase their units. So all of that cumulatively, and I didn't know a lot of background. I thought there was just way over the top attacking. So I defended her.
Well, okay, I get that. And I remember you coming in and mentioning that example. You're like, she bet plus 100, it closed minus 132. I'm sitting there, I'm like, way to go, Kirk. Way to reference this one bet that closed really well for her. Congratulations. I agree with a lot of what you're saying, okay? People are not going to go broke with the Ariel Epstein stuff. There's obviously scales where she followed up Cash Out King.
Yes.
Remember, Cash Out King opened that show.
Yes.
That's
right?
it. It's all relative, Rob.
So relatively speaking, people heard this guy talk.
She came on.
Yeah.
Cash Out King commits like a double homicide, and the next news story is innocent puppy gets out of cage and accidentally bites grown man. Like, that was the transition.
Yes.
It was like, okay, I guess, like, what are we supposed to do here now?
See, for me, I couldn't listen to more than 10 minutes of the Cash Out King thing. I thought it was like...
It was wild.
It was sickening, honestly, yeah.
And it was nuts, and I'll give Elf flowers here in something that I, like, you know, pathetically admitted to you guys before we recorded, is if you sort of like went to the area, like I joked on the internet last week that I will not bring those spaces into my house. It is rat poison. If I have children in that house, that I will have to, like, if the same way if I want to smoke, my wife's not letting me smoke in the, nor would I ever, I'll go to like the garage or something. So my little area that I have set up, you would have thought the next morning that I was there like on a 8-hour stakeout. The amount of like roaches and butts and extra toasted Cheez-It crumbs. Like, you'd have thought I was like in the movies when a dude is staking out a location.
Did you bring a piss jug with you or what?
No, I could just go. That's the thing. I go, it's a little piss in the snow. You didn't think the next morning there was an animal that came and pissed there. It's like there's so much red, yellow snow here. So that's the thing. So to Elf's credit, like, one of those nights I was totally captivated. There are other nights where I just like, I can't do it. I want no part of it. It doesn't hold me at all. And then Elf feels like, oh, this space is slowing down. We've gone 2 hours. We could cut it off now. Or let's invite Man of the Library back in and we'll do 3 hours for the West Coast.
No, I can't do that. Well, get to that in a second. Okay, I get all that, right? I understand the following of Cash Out King and like it. I understand all the context that is associated with this as well. There was a few things that really triggered me, which I would have liked to say.
About Ariel.
Well, okay, first and foremost, a lot of the conversation that she had on Twitter was around like misogyny. She called out Spinfluencer for misogyny.
Cool. I don't back it.
And I don't back that because, like, to me, first of all, I actually think I think it's almost the opposite.
Opposite. People are kinder. They're nice. There's an element of grace that is associated that I'm telling you, no fucking 6 foot, 220 pound basement dweller bro is gonna get for making those same mistakes.
Yes. Instead of Ariel, let's just imagine it was some guy named Bruno that was in that spaces or something like that. I could tell you that thing would have went on for 2.5 hours long and they would have been absolutely decapitating that person.
I don't know if I agree with that. I think I can agree with you on the Twitter.
Yes.
But there are some insane, like, on the spaces,
yes.
To me, that was like, she was getting attacked overboard. Yeah. On Twitter, SB influencer, I can agree with you.
I also want to clarify. I'm not pretending misogyny doesn't exist in society.
Yeah.
Okay, it definitely. I don't know what it's like to be a woman in the sports betting space.
But you do a little. Because there's a time where we worked together here at a sports company, and sometimes the ladies would show us, on-air talent would show us some of the DMs that they would get. I had to moderate a text chat, and like the boss would say, like, there's red lines here. One of them is like the 8 gazillion texts that come in about her feet.
Yes.
Like the amount of shit that Ariel has to deal with or probably dealt with doing a segment on MLB Network and the disgusting
100%.
stuff that they are
and that is tenfold, 100-fold.
That sometimes,
yes,
as much as I mocked it a minute ago, like the level of grace is almost like warranted. As silly as that's like, because he has some sort of idea of like the absolute. They get the same hate to a certain level, maybe more. But it's also, like, in ways so much more demeaning and derogatory and personally invasive, some of the things that they have to deal with.
I guess,
as opposed to you being told, you're fucking broke and you live in your mom's basement.
Yeah, whatever.
Like, that's the sort of shit you get. It's not what they get.
No, I and I'm fully aware of that. Like, I'm not an idiot. I can only imagine what some of those DMs look like. I think for me, from my perspective, it was more of a defense of, like, I almost felt that was directed at like people like me. The comment, and like, I don't treat people in different ways. I don't. I talk to the people in the same manner, period. Man, woman, gay, straight, doesn't matter, black, white. I don't treat people in different ways. So that, I found that to be offensive, because I felt that was like a defense mechanism that was just like, yeah, like, would this have happened if, I'm not standing for Spinfluencer either, but like, he goes after many men in the space. Let's call it out for what it is, right?
Yeah, and I think the thing you're frustrated with is any fair criticism of her, she'll say misogyny.
Yes, and it's
and not just her.
It's not just her. It's not just her. But the biggest thing for me as a whole was the entire argument was built on this premise of like, I don't claim to be an expert. I just visit the website that she's built to sell. All right. Now tell me that she doesn't claim to be an expert in her craft of props. Okay. That is a load of shit. First and foremost, okay? And that, like, the entire argument was like, oh, everyone's just coming in, like, I don't see what the problem is. Ariel doesn't claim to be she claims to be an expert on the website that she's selling from. And I think the follow-up that the follow-up that I would have asked, right, is from there, she's like, I'm just selling tools and I'm just selling stuff that's going to help people win. I'm not claiming that I win, but I'm selling stuff that's going to help people win. But she's selling the stuff that she's using to handicap, which she tells other people that is not helping her become a winning bet. So it was, to me, and maybe it's the way my mind works, I thought it was full of shit.
Listen,
and
she
I
got
just
a
wanted,
great draw.
I just wanted someone to ask a real question, and she could navigate her way through that however she wanted to do. But don't tell me you don't sell yourself as an expert when their expert is littered all over the website you're selling. Second of all, don't tell me you are going to help other people win by using the tools that you are using that don't help you win. Do you know what I'm getting at here?
Yeah.
Like, no one asked a real question, and she might have answers to those that are fair. I don't know what they are, but that wasn't it. And I'm just there fucking bleeding out, and I'm there. I'm like, I'm like, why did this have to be the night? And producer Jason goes in there, by the way, as well. And he's just like, I'm like, oh.
He did something later in the week.
I'm like, just Jason.
I left
I'm
a
like,
space.
man, please just mute the microphone as well. And the whole premise, like the whole argument is like, well, it costs me a lot of money to build this website and get it out there and maintain it, so I have to pay for it somehow. I mean, there's a very rational question that follows that was like, you could have had zero cost if you didn't build this, right? Like, no, and that, to me, I've been in those a lot. There's people like, that tennis guy, MPB. There's people, Rio. There's all these guys, and they are getting grilled for every little thing. And Ariel went on, and I guess I don't know what I was looking to get. I just was looking for real answers. Yeah, that's it.
The last thing I'll say, small disagreement, is, well, one, MPB.
Yeah.
He claims he's the greatest tennis bettor in the world.
Yeah.
Obviously, Ariel doesn't claim that, but I didn't interpret it as her saying, I'm not an expert or I'm not a winner. It more seemed like she was like, I'm a small winner.
This almost felt like there's just so many bigger crimes that the people in the space want to deal with.
And I get
this,
that.
like, she stole a pack of bubble gum from the convenience store, and we don't like, okay.
Yeah.
Let's move along, Elf.
Sure. I get that. I wonder if this blows up into like a huge site 2 years from now or something like that. Do we think everyone will have the same viewpoint?
If Prop Queen was on ESPN or something, then I think it would turn into this. It would feel different.
Yeah. Listen, I am in complete agreement. If you're building the scale of like who really are the people we have to go after, she's not on there, and I get that, but I can't help it. It's the way I'm wired. It's like when I hear something that I perceive to be bullshit, I need it to be called out.
Can I ask a silly question?
Yes.
Obviously, like, Spanky's done a great job with Bet Bash. It's like from where it was 4 years ago to where it does now. It seems like he gets to turn away even companies or sponsors that want to be involved.
Yep.
He can be selective in that. Does asking her to come on, like, does that not alienate people like you? Be like, what is Bet Bash? Like, Bet Bash is for, like, what is, do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying you personally, but I mean people who see it as like it is for people who could discuss probabilities and stuff.
I'm friends with Spanky. I will always support Bet Bash unless like it definitely like goes against some sort of like philosophical beliefs I have or like beliefs on life. But yes, like I'm not an idiot. He wants to grow it. He wants to be as big as possible. For me, I don't like that. And it's selfish, but like I used to love going to MIT Sloan Sports Analytics Conference when it was smaller and there was real conversation about sports analytics. And then it got big, sponsored by ESPN. It blew up and it didn't become that anymore. I was not interested. Now I'm always going to go to Bet Bash because I see people that I don't regularly see. It's a great betting meetup altogether, but like, yeah, I feel it waters down the conference a lot when you just have stuff that is not in what I think the original vision of the conference was. Let's just put it that way, right? Last note on this, and then we'll move on. I think part of why it rubs me the wrong way is the amount of criticism I took for doing the masterclass as well. Okay, so
okay, fair.
And I got fucking roasted for that. I still do. Okay, it's the go-to joke now, and it always will be, and that's fine. I kind of knew it was going to be like that regardless. Like when you remember the conversation we first had when I told you, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get skewered. I don't care. I think we could put out a valuable class. I hear people all the time talking about how much money NBA green beans, bread, and he's on the street. Yeah. He's like, Rob's making bank off that class. I got paid $10,000 for my presence in that master class. $10,000. I have no upside. Okay, I don't get. Like, my link that I put out is a tracking link. It's not an affiliate link. I don't get paid when somebody goes and watches the class. I got paid $10,000, okay?
No
this
residuals.
Is a week in the middle of football season. That's probably my EV for the week, which I wasn't able to bet on Thursday or Friday of that week, which are typically big betting days for me for news, stuff like that. So but I took so much grief for that class. It is $8 a month. You can cancel within the first month. And I'm viewed as like I got skewered.
I respect this counter. Like, I see why you feel how you feel. Like, it's fair for you to feel that when you see the like red card, like just the apologists rolling out for the other side.
100%.
Okay.
So that there's also perspective on this that I don't think other people have.
Fair.
But like if these spaces existed at that time when those master classes came out and like me and Jack and Rufus were in there, I could tell you I would have been on there for 4 hours at night getting questions from all sorts of people. All right. So there's also that perspective where it felt very unfair is what I will put it. And sure, woe is me. You can say, Rob, you're soft or whatever, but I endured that. I still do endure that. I will endure that till the end of time. Ariel will as well, outside of spaces. Spaces are not the be-all and end-all. There's going to be many people who are going to trash her on Twitter.
Every bet will have like a coin toss joke or something.
It's going to happen until the end of time. Yeah. But I felt like I had to answer to that a lot. And then this is just kind of blew over. And I couldn't even be a part of it. Fuck. Couldn't even be a part of it. And Kirk delivered the final blow, man. I'm like, Kirk, oh, man. I'm like, here we go. I've never heard Kirk say a nice thing in my entire life. I've watched this guy tweet for years. Every time I get a notification that Kirk Evans just tweeted, I'm like, who's he going after now? Boom.
Do you know what? I have an analogy that's just as good as your Game of Thrones. He was like Hogan coming to save you at Bash of the Beach before turning for NWO. Like, you're Macho Man getting your shit kicked in the ring, and Hogan's coming. He's coming to save Macho. And
that's it.
No.
But that's what like this rotation. Like, think of this rotation order that came in, right? Like, starting with Kanish and Spanky. And like Man of the Vig, even our producer Jason, he was out. I don't know what he was going in and asking, but he got poo-pooed really quickly. Then Kirk, And it was just like, wow, I got no friends tonight. I got no friends. And again, the goal for me was not, I don't, like, people will take this out of context. They're like, Rob wanted Ariel to be skewered. And that's not what I want. I just wanted real questions to be asked, because she might actually have the answers to those questions, that she can speak on her own behalf, and she speaks very fluidly and very well. I thought she handled herself really, like 99th percentile in a Twitter space. Like Taylor Mathis, she didn't, I wouldn't say she handled herself well.
No,
like,
dude just kept throwing the ball into the ground a bit.
Yeah, that's
But
how I
Nadeau
felt.
was at a nightclub outside. If Nadeau, if he was just more like at home or in his element, not waiting to go into a club, I feel like he could have probably brought it more.
Yes.
But yeah, whatever.
All right, so that was one. I think we'll highlight for a lot of people in the week was Jeff Benson finally joining in what was dubbed as Jeff Benson plus Rob Pizzola versus Man of the Library. It's not exactly the way that it played out, okay? It was one of those classic, nothing's going on tonight, let's get Man of the Library in here to say some shit, and he came in, and then me and him were beefing a little bit, and then at some point, Benson had, I guess, heard enough because he listens to them. There, he's like, fuck it, I'm going in as well. And this turned into an absolute shit show of a space. The first time I introduced Man of the Library on this show, I recommended that people go and block him right away. I actually remember saying that. I'm like, Man of the Library, whatever you do, just go block him. You do not want this person in your life. I wish I could have taken my own advice, because it has led to a lot of wasted time by me. My experience with these spaces with Man of the Library is that he is an extremely high IQ individual. I believe. You can disagree with me or whatever. I think he's very intelligent, and he is an expert in debating, because what he likes to do, and it's a classic go-to, and this is what he has done with me, did with Benson that night. He throws out, you'll ask him questions, he pivots. He's a great deflector. All the best debaters are great deflectors. They turn it back on you. This is what he does. Turns it back on you and throws out accusations or points that cannot be countered in real time, right? And then makes it look like you're trying to hide something. He's pulled this act on me many times, and it's really good, and he does it in a way where, this is why he's high IQ and very good at this stuff, he stays calm throughout. And for me, he knows that if people accuse me of stuff that is false, I'm going to get heated. And Benson is going to get heated. And this was a heated.
It was fucking awesome.
Like, okay, so this is what I want, the outside.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. But I agree with everything you're saying. And I know you. And I have the utmost respect for Benson. And aware enough to know how bright he is to do what he does. And I fully believe Man of the Library is pretty much full of shit. But he is impossible to nail down. Mm-hmm. You said it. He can take that thing in a circle, and someone who's really not deep into betting, like the higher end betting, the pro betting, what Benson is, how smart Benson would have to be to have that job. They could almost believe that Benson is hot. Like the way he frames it, you could believe that, like, maybe he's onto something.
Yeah.
Maybe there's like a grain of truth to Circa not wanting this really great bettors bets, which is all insane. But he is, if he was in sales, someone said it, if he was an actor, I believe there's nothing he would do where he wouldn't maybe be successful, because he does come off very bright and frustrating and full of shit.
Yes. It is like a classic courtroom mechanism, right? It's like the OJ trial. It's like, let's turn it back on the investigators here and like get some sort of shred of doubt into the character.
Yeah. Very Trumpian, like
100%.
Like, yeah,
and like
you can't pin it down. It's just keep fucking.
So I didn't want to keep going. I was obviously very heated, and at some point I'm just like, this is not going to go anywhere because he's just going to throw these accusations at me, which, you know, the big one for me, he was like so hyper fixated on like, when did Betstamp remove the ability to sell picks? I'm like, I don't know. Why would I know? And he's like, why would you not know? You own this but how would anyone, like, who knows the exact dates in time off the top of their head where their like company removed a feature from the app that nobody was using? Like, who knows that off the top of my head? But he becomes hyper fixated and he'll be like, well, you can't tell me the date. How can you not tell me the date? You claim to be owner of this company. You can't tell me. And it has nothing to do with the conversation, but he's attacking the character of the individual. Jeff, why do you guys swipe my player's card at Circa when I don't want to swipe my player's card? And Jeff's like, we don't. He's like,
no,
you're
they
telling
asked
me.
me for it. She asked me for it. I was there.
He's like, I saw it happen. I
Yeah.
went to play a ticket. 20 minutes ago, he talks about he doesn't bet at Circa. I don't bet at Circa. They don't offer me comps. I go to Boyd, I go to Westgate, but I go to, now all of a sudden he's at Circa betting tickets and they're swiping his player's card. He's accusing them of having his player's card in the top drawer of basically every desk that's there, swiping it when he doesn't want to use his, like, but what's Benson going to say it? He's getting mad. He's like, you're a fucking idiot. You're a moron. This doesn't happen. But he's getting agitated, and it's really, really good arguing. The starting point of this whole thing, if nobody can recall, was he came after me for my record on the pizza buffet years ago. Sunday morning NFL. Jeff, what do I say in every fucking Sunday morning NFL video? Every morning.
You shouldn't be betting Sunday morning. You're not betting Sunday morning. The opportunities to make your bets have passed. You cannot beat these Sunday markets.
Yes. Now, there's obviously a caveat to that. At that time, Pinnacle was the sponsor of our show. I was tracking all of my bets at Pinnacle. Pinnacle is a sharp sportsbook. On Sunday morning, they're taking 50K plus on side and total in NFL game, usually more, okay? I'm not going to beat Pinnacle on Sunday morning's NFL. Can I beat Bovada on Sunday morning NFL when they're dealing a price that's way off market because the bettors there are only allowed to bet a certain amount of dollars? Of course I can. But Man of the Library comes after me and he's like, oh, it's losing better, this and that. I'm going to track on your site, Betstamp. That way it's proven that I am a winner. What he did was he tracked his 52 plays that were verified. He technically tracked 60 plays in total, but 8 were not verified. So the line that he put in was not the line at the sportsbook at the time, okay? He went 38, 13, and 1 on those bets. He claims that they were all coin flip bets. The average price is minus 136 on those bets that he tracked. It's 99th percentile.
Got really hot.
He did really well. I've never hid from that. I've never done anything with that. Here are the sports books he tracked at, okay? 7 MGM, 7 FanDuel, 6 Bovada, 6 Bodog. Bodog is Bovada everywhere else in the world. 6 5 Dimes. He's got CoolBet, Betway, Betfred, 365, Bet Victor, Barstool, Bet99, Bet Rivers. 1 bet at Chris, 2 bets at Circa in that entire thing. So he took the challenge, which he made up as a chat, and he went and completely changed the rules that I'm operating under to make it look like he's better than me, but no one's ever brought that up from the. And I'm actually lucky that Betstamp is a great product. Obviously, I co-own it, but I can go back and I can look through all of this stuff and I can see all these things. He also changed other things too. He started playing second half live lines. I don't have the luxury of doing that on Pizza Buffet. I can't play second half lines. I can't do stuff like that. I'm not discrediting the record. The record is the record. He did that no matter what, but he altered the terms. And he's never, ever talked about that. And every single time this conversation comes up, he just spins it back on me and he's like, well, how come you deleted my Betstamp account then? I didn't. It still exists now. He deactivated it himself. We have records of that. We can see the records of that.
Like you say, he says all he does is bet and read. He says, I sit here in a room surrounded by books. I read books all day long.
Yeah.
I don't know whether he's joking or serious.
I actually believe that. I
Fits
think
with
he's a
that.
good reader. He's very well spoken.
Yeah, no, again, he's incredibly bright and articulate and could make his fucking point, even if it is fake news.
But the thing that I really don't like about Man of the Library, and I know Elf loves calling him up and him being like kind of the circus monkey of it's boring, let's get him up.
Fresh eye, and he bring him on, we get 2 fresh hours.
Exactly.
Yes.
But the thing is, when he's like, the spaces are at least like somewhat about betting. When he's talking about betting, it's like mania. Like, it's like he's manic. Like, he's the reason he said that LeBron wasn't going to score 10 points, was going to be on a day divisible by 3 because that's Zuri's birthday. Like, when he, like, I agree with you, he's smart and intelligent and well-spoken, but when he's actually talking about betting, it is lunacy, and that to me it just doesn't hit.
Yeah, that's part of it. I mean, but there's just like, there's so many blatant lies. Like, you know, I found this tweet from many years ago. He's betting $20 on a Circa live line, right? It's there. And the reason, like, I know that this is him is because he still takes screenshots the exact same way nowadays. He just hides the amount. He uses his Boyd player's card to cover the details on the ticket. So it's very clearly one of his. And, you know, you could, this is an example of recently where he did the exact same. You can see on the right side, it's the same way. So it's like, it's not a doctored screenshot in any way. But if you question him on this stuff, there's always like he's so well prepared. This guy could have made millions as being a trial attorney rather than millions, I don't know what he makes, from scamming people, but it could have been so much different. And
someone walking into that stream could have been convinced that Benson is trying to, like, get away from him.
Do something.
Yeah.
Like you come out with more questions than you had going into the stream itself.
Well, based on the next picture, Benson should be trying to get away from him.
But like, these are examples. Like the night after he argues with me about how transparent he is or whatever, he tweets out a play at a great market price. Sixers minus 166 money line at profit. They closed like around minus 200 in the game or something like that.
I had a very big Sixers play on this game.
They're getting smoked in the first half. He deletes all the tweets.
Yeah.
People start calling him out. Then he reposts the screenshot and he's like, "Here you go." Why?
Well, fucking, like, that's...
Why? Like, this is what I'm saying.
But that move alone should get him just banned from...
This move alone.
Yeah.
This one right here should get him.
Yeah, all of it.
Because
so this is next level fucked up.
Well, and that's when I had to call it quits on that stream that night because it was getting into...
He should not be allowed back on the stream.
And he definitely shouldn't be allowed back on
I've never
Circa.
heard someone go on the stream afterwards, tell someone that they're going on their list, which is what he did to Benson. Benson, you're going on my list. Then saying, I need to get out of here to write my manifesto.
Yeah.
And then that was when it was bordering on territory where I'm like, okay.
I have some this really bothering me.
Good.
Yeah.
Describe what's on screen for audio listeners.
And then the following day, he tweets out breaking news. Benson is on the run. Reporters on the ground say that he's fled the front lines of Circa after a brutal defeat in early battles with readers. He's headed to his bunker to make some calls. What's his next move? Readers are attacking from all angles. He literally followed Benson onto Fremont Street, or maybe not Fremont here, but downtown Las Vegas, as he was leaving Circa, and took a picture of him walking down the street from him.
This would be very concerning for me if I was Benson. I would not like this at all.
Even the people I hate the most in the world, in the industry, I would never do something like that.
This is like this is like Elf shouldn't even be a part of this anymore.
Yeah.
This is like
there's red lines and then there's this. If Bo Wagner's wife has interjected herself.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
She's not like working at some job and some like Elf or someone from the internet is contacting her to speak on Bo.
Yes.
She has interjected herself into discourse on the topics.
Yes.
Elf, that's a red line.
Yeah.
Bo Wagner's wife is a red line.
Yeah.
If this fucking guy is back on the stream ever, that makes no sense to me because this is way more insane red line. Family is red line. For Elf, I gotta, if that's respectable, even if that family member has interjected themselves into the conversation.
Yeah.
This is like point of no return.
I agree.
Totally
That's
agree.
I mean, I'm going to try as hard as I possibly can to not speak about him again in the future. I do owe it to the audience. We use hashtag #CircleBack on Twitter. You see something you want us to talk about, use it. I review them every week. If a lot of people want to hear about something, we're going to talk about it on the show. In this instance, this was the point where I was like, okay, you beefing with Benson, that's fine.
The Twitter Spaces are all fun until you see
now
that
you've
this
now
sort
crossed
of
the
like.
line.
This is way too real. Way too real, especially from Man of the Library, who comes off as like a bit like off kilter.
Yeah, I listen. I don't know him. I don't know if he has a medical thing. I don't know anything other than that. Regardless, this is an off limits. You know, we talked about Kanish back in the day when he doxed someone else's girlfriend and made some derogatory. That was off limits. This is another one where you just don't do it. You do not follow someone around, take pictures of them, post it to Twitter.
I wonder if this is like, now that I think about it, like, because Benson would be within his rights to refuse service at Circa for doing something like this,
Well,
right?
of course. And then you know what Man of
And
the
then
Library is going
he'll
to do on
use that
Twitter?
as they won't let me play here anymore because I'm too good of a bettor.
100%.
I wonder if that's part of this.
It's how the cycle works. Anyways, we're going to move on to another comment from Spaces. This one is too close to home for Jeff, so we're going to allow him to leave. We're talking
Hey, listen,
Steve Fezzik.
we had some tech difficulties. Rob, I had a heart out. Those factory floors don't sweep themselves, buddy.
100%.
They don't sweep themselves.
We'll see you next week. I'll admit that when I first heard the idea of a gambling credit card, I mean, immediately there's some things that go off in my head of like, I'm not sure this is really what it states it is. I'm not sure this is actually going to be valuable. But in the last month or so, we've had many members of the Hammer and our community that are starting to use Edge Boost, and I do fully stand by the product. Edge Boost isn't just another payment option. It's a dedicated bank account. That's the difference. A dedicated bank account built specifically for sports betting, for DFS, for casinos and sweeps. There's no more declined transactions, no more frozen accounts, just seamless deposits and withdrawals every single time. Now, the Edge Boost Visa debit card is where it really shines. You can move up to $250K per day. You also earn cash back on every deposit that you make. So if you're wagering 5 to 10K per week, that can mean an extra $50 to $100 back every single week. And over the course of a full season of NFL, as an example, that's $1,000 to $2,000 extra. Money that you can use to take shots on player futures, props, whatever you want, simply just to boost your profitability. I've seen firsthand how much our team is currently relying on Edge Boost. It's reliable, it's efficient, it's designed to make managing your bankroll easier. And now that the Super Bowl is done, doesn't mean you can't use it. We got lots of stuff going on. NBA playoffs are around the corner, NHL playoffs, baseball season is starting. It's the perfect time to try it out. Don't run into deposit issues when it matters the most. Sign up today at edgeboost.bet. You can use the link down in the description below. All right, our final topic here today. Obviously, lots to choose from this week. I didn't want to make this so Pizzola-centric, but the people want to make it, and who am I to say no?
No, I think when people go at you, it's kind of like we have to put it in the show because if we don't, it's a bad look. But these are also two good ones.
Deserved.
Yeah,
Yes.
I can't just skirt these, and it looks like I'm intentionally trying to skirt these. So there was a big time back and forth with myself and Fezzik that happened over the weekend, and it started with Fezzik for about the millionth time in the last month. And here's what people need to understand. I'm not exaggerating. He subtweeted me again. And he said, let's hope GRP Wins doesn't discover some of the 2024 best bet of week pods from NFL betting pros, in quotations, and expose their results. And like, the issue that I have with what's going on, and with this subtweet in particular, is Fezzik has my phone number, okay? He texts me very regularly when he doesn't like something about the Hammer, okay? He does not like Judah Fort Gang. He does not like Suma. These are members of our Forward Progress channel. Suma is a pro bettor based out in Germany who I've worked with for many years on betting. Used to be a tout, used to track against only sharp books. Circa, Chris, Pinnacle, Bet Online. Actually, maybe not Circa at the time. I'm not sure Circa had even launched yet. But he produced a winning record over a pretty large sample of years. And there was a lot of competition behind the scenes to not get Suma to post picks anymore because he had the RAS effect. He was moving the whole market when it was... So there was an offer made to him to join our betting group, and I've worked with him ever since. And he's been a very valuable asset of our group. Judah Fortgang works R&D and betting for Pro Football Focus. We lost Eric Eager, who is a great friend of mine and frankly irreplaceable, even though he's not a big bettor. We lost him to be the VP of analytics for the Carolina Panthers, which obviously he's going to accept, not doing betting content anymore. But he had a way where he could talk X's and O's of football really well. And on the way out, I asked Eric, I said, Eric, who are the guys we have to target? Judah was on the top of his list. I went around the space. I asked people who are working with Judah, what's your opinion? He's amazing. Hire him. You'd be a big mistake if you don't. I did. Brought him on the team. I don't think Fez can speak for himself on this if he ever wants to. I'm not going to put words into his mouth, but he doesn't like them. I think that with Judah especially, there's a contrasting betting style. I'll call Fez a little bit conservative. That's just my... I see the stuff that he plays a lot of teasers and stuff like that. Whereas Judah's more of a shots guy. He's known in the space for SGPs, big wins off of those, alternate lines, stuff like that. Anyways, that's the origin, I think, of this subtweet. He's mentioned this to me 100 times before via text. We've talked about this 1,000,000 times before via text. And then he just went and put it out there publicly. Even though, we pride ourselves on transparency. We literally start every show with a recap. I don't understand.
I was going to say, I'm confused. So is he suggesting that GRP should track you with his notebook so you could see how bad the results are?
That is what the original tweet suggests.
There's a public Betstamp page for this.
Well, 100%.
This channel, by the way.
But we track everything. It's so I don't really understand the purpose. Also, by the way, I know Fez is watching the show every week because he's texting me what Judah's pick was and be like, oh, I don't like, there's no value in this. How can he be giving this out? Just fucking address it with him personally. But anyways, I got sick of the subtweets, okay? And I've let them go so long. I get every single time one of these messages goes out, you know how it is. You're on Telegram too. We're connected to a lot of the same people. They all fire the tweet over. And I will say, I try to avoid it. I do not have it in me. Sometimes I just act instinctually. And I'm like, fuck this. I'm done with it. I need to give this guy a burial. So I responded, Steve, you can tag me. It's okay. Because he didn't tag me in the original tweet. It won't hurt my feelings. We recap the season every single week on our show. So not sure there's any exposing of results from Forward Progress that needs to happen since we're always fully transparent with the audience. The Dream Preview, on the other hand, which is a podcast that Fezzik has been on every week for multiple years now, maybe don't be so quick to throw stones when you're the biggest name for a company that puts out a weekly pod that grades against Westgate stale lines and still managed to put together one of the worst combined records of all time. And I posted the screenshot of the record year-to-date grades, which I can remember the podcast that is keeping track of those, and I'll try to remember it because I do want to give them credit. I'll get it. I'll get that. We'll give them attribution in the comments below or in the description below afterwards as well, just in case people want to check it out. But I listen to the Dream Preview every single week. They never recap the records off the top of the show. They don't do this stuff. So it felt like pot calling the kettle black, and I could not let him get away with it. Does this, up to this point, seem petty to you?
Well, you're asking the wrong guy about pettiness. The idea that you shouldn't respond to this with your tweet, I think you did absolutely the right thing. Maybe you didn't even go hard enough.
Yeah.
So Mr. Peanut Butter has a bet on Twitter that like when you mention Fezzik and like all the insane things he does, you have to also caveat with, oh, I'm sure he's a smart, sharp guy, whatever. I find Fezzik truly unbearable.
Okay.
I don't find him intelligent when he speaks. To me, he's at the level of like a odds jammer. That's his level of talent in betting. From when I hear him speak, he never provides things of value, and he is a monstrous hypocrite. He goes at Rass. I once tweeted at him and Rass, and his response to me was like, yeah, Rass is doing all these bad things. And I was genuinely baffled because it was as though he read the tweet without realizing that I was criticizing him. He is very good at pretending he doesn't do shitty things. But yeah, I just find him like unbearable. He's a massive hypocrite. He does stuff like this all the time. He goes at Rass. At least to give Rass credit, they release plays that at the time are widely available. Fezzik, by his own admission, releases lines at like Vegas specific books, DraftKings.
He just tweeted this week that he's limited to $200 at South Point, and he's constantly tweeting out South Point plays. Like, I agree with you. So, yes and no. Mr. Peanut Butter might be talking directly about me, about when I talk about Fezzik.
No, but a lot of people do that. But sorry, keep going.
I believe Fezzik is a winning bettor, okay? I'm going to put that out there. People will roast me. They will shit on me, whatever. If I could bankroll Fezzik, I would. And I wasn't betting, and I wasn't earning myself, I would, okay? I'm not saying he needs my money. I'm not but I think he is a winning bettor. I think that, and I tweeted this as well, I appeared on a panel with him at Bet Bash, the first Bet Bash in Vegas, where he was a last-minute replacement for Joey Kanish. Kanish didn't show up that week, and Ravel was going after me. Darren Ravel, me and him were beefing it out, whatever. We're having our conversation, but Ravel said to me, Pizzola, this is why you have such a bad reputation in the space. And Fezzik jumped in, and I will never forget, and it meant a lot to me. It still does. He said, Pizzola has an impeccable reputation in this space. I don't know what you're talking about. He defended me. And that bought him, justly or unjustly, whatever. We're human beings, right? And when people do speak highly of you sometimes, or they defend you, you feel like you owe something to them. It bought him a lot of good grace with me for a long time. Maybe even so in that interview where Johnny went after him a lot, and I just kind of sat idly and did nothing as like the just letting them beef it out, which a lot of people criticized me for at the time. But at some point, I don't know where this went off the rails, but like if he wants to attack our talent at the Hammer or Forward Progress, do it, address it, tag Judah, tag Suma, do it, deal with that. Do not text me off the hook, okay? And let's not pretend like the only show that we do on Forward Progress is a best bet show, because it's fucking not. I do a Sunday night stream every single week. I do not promote the record for that stream, okay? Because I think you should be able to win betting on the NFL on Sunday night going into next week. Is our openers, there's small amounts of, like, I don't think that I need to promote that. Me and Clive do that show, but we did really, really well on that this year. Okay, it was like a 12% ROI. I don't have it up in front of me right now, but it was really a great year for that. Okay, we have Hitman who comes on every week and does a prop show. He did really, really well on that this year. We do live watch-alongs of primetime games. Do you know how many big SGPs I hit on those shows this year that I don't even promote well myself? I just retweet people who are tagging me on Twitter. This is not the only thing we do. We are very transparent about it. I found it so out of touch with reality that I couldn't help myself. And this just led to this back and forth response, which, by the way, I replied to him, okay? I didn't quote tweet him and just try to embarrass. Now, I did try to embarrass him, but I replied to him. He's taking every single one of these replies, quote tweeting them to his 80,000 plus followers, and I'm just replying to him in a thread. But eventually he gets to the point where he's like, all right, put your money where your mouth is. Let's go head to head, circa millions next year, 1K, 10K, 50K. And I fucking lost it, man. I just don't, I'm like, I don't want to deal with this shit anymore. First of all, I don't want to do a 1K season long. I don't even want to be in circa millions anymore. I literally don't. And it's a really well-run contest. Don't get me wrong. But the deadline for me with my proxy is like Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern time for this. I have to devote my Saturday afternoon to being available. I don't like contests. I like Survivor. It's circa Survivor. I like entering that to the max because I can potentially win real life-changing money for me. And I again, this might sound arrogant. If I win $1 million on circa millions, you know, even not being subject to tax because we're Canadian or whatever, I can get it back. It's to me, it's just like not even worth the effort that I'm putting. Like the EV is not there for me. So I went back at him. I said, fuck it. You want to do this? Let's do it for 100K, which is over the amount. I was trying to put him in his place. Don't get me wrong. There was definitely like I'm going to drop my balls on the table, you know, type of situation. I became heated. And he agreed to that. So now we're on for a 100K competition for circa millions this upcoming year. I would say, like, I don't even, the thing that drives me nuts about this, Kirk, I know I've been talking for a long time here. I don't even view this as like determining who is a better. Like,
yeah, of course not.
It's a fucking football contest against stale lines, and that puts us on a way more even playing field than if it was just me betting straight up NFL versus Fezzik. But I fucking can't deal with this shit anymore.
Yeah, I think taking the contest is a good move. Again, really, it just is pretty irrelevant. Like, those contests, you say this all the time, and it'll be in our next tweet. Like, those contests essentially mean nothing to me in terms of how good of a bettor you are. But yeah, you said it at the beginning that you think Fezzik is a winner. It's like, that bar is so low, being a winner. Like, the scale of winner and scale of how good you can be in betting is so wide that, like, just being a winner versus how he presents himself is... I agree. I do think he wins betting on his own bets at the numbers he gets. But, like, the fact that we know that this guy's giving out punting props on DraftKings that a fresh DraftKings will take $7 on, like, that to me is, like, embarrassing. It's actually embarrassing.
Dude, he gave out a second half, like, college basketball play on DraftKings recently. On the service, I'm with you. Like, this is my whole thing, right? It's not you can only give somebody so much leeway before you're just like, no, like I have to. I know he said good things about me. I have to stand my ground. Like, we could have had this out in private, and we have been having it out in private, and he has decided. And listen, I'm not saying I'm not complicit in this as well, because the relationship has deteriorated. And that's fine. It happens. It's not the first time. I like to reflect on these types of things. I am combative. I get it. I'm not like saying I'm not part of this whatsoever. But we could have easily settled this behind the scenes. He has chosen to continuously subtweet me. I draw the line. That's it. I think the betting contest stuff is so stupid. I honestly hate it. You know how many times I've declined contests in the past because people challenge me and they're like, let's go head to head for a week. Let's do this this is not proving anything. It literally isn't. But now I'm going to stand my ground and do it. I don't even care if I lose because at least I will have gone through with it. I don't give a shit. But like, it's a football contest. This is not, we want to determine who's a better. This has nothing to do with betting. And this will lead into another conversation here in 1 second. But if I won a football contest, I can guarantee you, this is the type of person that I am. I'm the worst self-marketer on the planet because I feel shame in marketing myself in certain ways. If I won the circa millions, you would not see it in my Twitter profile because there's so much fucking luck involved Flup no lied. Chris Dierkis won the Circa Survivor. I fucking love when Elf intros him on the spaces where he's like, yo, guys, quiet. We got a guy in here that won the Circa Survivor. We got to let him talk or whatever. I always joke about this with Chris on the side. Chris is like, you know why we won? I'm like, why? He's like, we got lucky. Like, we did some things that gave us an edge, but at the end of the day, it was luck. And like, he's very cognizant. And like, Fez is going back to like these contest wins when like, I'm like, this, I can't handle it. It's just like, it's the whole package just bothers me so much.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. The contest thing to me is nonsense. Like, if you can beat NFL late in the week, you should make a shit ton of money doing that. The contests would essentially be irrelevant. And yeah, winning is mostly luck. Well, like, it's just an extremely lucky contest. So yeah, you could for sure lose. I'd probably put you at a small edge, but like,
Same.
It's so much fucking luck. It's a dumb thing. But yeah, he's insanely annoying. And to go at Judah, like Flop and Judah, like those guys I know very well. Like Judah's an amazing bettor.
Yeah,
Fezzik to go
a
at
high
Judah.
variance bettor. Not everyone sees things that Judah takes shots and like that. But he's just go talk to him. Like, deal with it in him directly. Like, if you have a problem with someone, deal with them. It's been brewing for a long time, and it finally came to a head. So if people want to understand that, like, yes, I was trying to bury the guy because I was fucking sick of this shit. The 100K contest, I regret it. Not because of the amount of money, because I don't even want to, I know now I have to deal with this next. I don't want to. I didn't even want to do contests. I've now forced myself into this situation, and if I don't do it, I'm backtracked. I literally do not want to do it. Circa Millions is 5 picks a week, 18 weeks. That's 90 picks, okay? Honestly, 35 to 40 of those picks are going to be, for both of us, the most stale lines of the week.
Yep.
So we are now have a 100K challenge on 50 plays, which we are picking on a Saturday NFL. Like, it's gotten to that point where I completely lost it. I lost my cool. Simple as that.
Yeah. Fez, come on for Circles Off Part 2. I don't know if Rob actually wants that, but I do. I'll happily be part of the interview. Let's run it back.
I would do that.
Let's do it.
Maybe that's what we need to do. Maybe we just need to air it out in public.
Absolutely.
And give each other the opportunity. Fez, if you're willing to do that, let's do that. Let's do that, because it's better than what's been going on, where I wake up and like I got 60 text messages about like Judah and these guys, and like I don't even know what he's talking about with half of these things. I don't even know how to deal with that anymore. Now, in the crossfire was Kelly in Vegas and Farley bets, because when Fezzik went back on like promoting his contest record, I made a comment about how like anyone can win a contest, literally anyone. If you actually just go back and look at all the people who've won, like Westgate Super Contest, Circa Millions over the years, and you see multiple years worth of records, a lot of them are in and around 500. A lot of those have parlayed their careers, the wins into like a successful tout career. You know, I meant it. I meant what I said. Anyone can win a contest, but I did throw Farley's name out there and Kelly in Vegas, and I did not tag them. And I will say, I didn't think about it at the time. It was not a way to elude like them seeing it or anything, but I am going to make a more conscious effort to actually tag people, because I do think that if you're going to say something about somebody, it is important you back it up. So I do apologize. But anyways, Farley did see this, and I'm going to read his full tweet. Bear with me here. It's long, but I want to read the full thing. Farley Bet says, looks like Rob Pizzola had my name in his mouth and on his keyboard lately, apparently hoping I wouldn't see it, didn't tag me, nice and discreet. That's too bad, Rob. But now that we're here, Rob hired me for the Hammer Network a few years ago. I met him in Vegas afterwards. I've never experienced a weaker, more disingenuous handshake in my life. The guy softly engaged for half second, then looked the other way. I found it very disrespectful and cold, the kind of exchange that signals strong jealousy or insecurity, and certainly a lack of awareness. Anyone can win contests, says Rob, and then he cites me as the first example. Firstly, contests are extremely hard to win, which is probably why Rob hasn't come close. So you'll see him, I'm terrible, proselytize. You got it?
No.
Anyone?
Idea.
I mean, I don't read books like Man of the Library. Proselytize about things like market timing, etc., as if they're incredibly complex topics that no one can understand but him and his lackeys. Rob lives for pontification, talking down to and judging others, yet another sign of supreme insecurity. Also, Fezzik Sports will annihilate you in a contest. Can't wait to see that. Bobby Boy also doesn't like that I don't use Betstamp to verify my wins. The truth is, I don't use Betstamp because when I was first in the industry, I had many guys tell me that I must use Betstamp to verify my records. I don't like doing anything that people tell me I must do, and that is not the only mechanism. If you followed my career, me and my career in this industry the past 5 years, I've documented everything with 100% transparency, just like my NFL records this season, 55% ATS plus 30 units. In the two main sports I talk about, NFL, NBA, I've won well over 225 combined units the last 4 years. I'm sure that bothers guys like Rob, who I pay no attention to, since I don't subscribe to his methods or anyone's methods but my own. I'm an actual winner, so why the hell would I? Finally, Rob, please, literally begging you, just like I beg so many idiots on here who act tough and confident via this app. If we're ever in Vegas at the same time, come and say hi, hopefully in a place where there are no cameras or crowds, and say these things directly to me with your chest, and and shake my hand like a man. I bet you won't. So that's the full response from Farley. And I gotta tell you, in all sincerity, my first reaction to reading that, I laughed for a very long time. Is no exaggeration.
The handshake stuff, like he's fucking Hank Hill or something.
I laughed so hard, and that was the original reaction. There's so many points that I can address in here. First of all, it's long, it's well thought out. He made his points. He wrote what he wanted to write in regards to a lot of this. The handshake comment really got me. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Do you recall that handshake, Rob? Do you know if you shook it firmly or what?
You know, this is like the Bryan Cranston Breaking Bad. Like, you got me. Like, I don't prioritize my handshakes. I never have. I'm bad with many things. Okay, when I meet and interact with someone for the first time, I almost never remember their name. I almost completely gloss over their name. And I have to ask them again later on. And I go up and I'd be like, listen, I'm actually really bad with this. I don't remember names. I do that. Handshake, I cannot say I've ever practiced handshakes, put any thought into, this is like a full psychological evaluation based off of, like, he barely looked at me I don't even remember our first interaction in person. I'll tell you, it was probably at Bet Bash, because this is where I see Farley in Vegas usually. In all likelihood, it wasn't a solo conversation. I don't know for sure. I can't say, but like, I'm around people a lot for these types of interactions. I remember the first time I met like Cleve TA. I do remember that. I was like, oh fuck, I should have talked to him a little bit longer. I regret that. There's certain interactions I regret, but like, I'm like, holy fuck, he felt really disrespected by this thing that's never been, like, I never even thought of. So, like, apologies, but you're, like, you talking about me being insecure, I don't even know, I didn't even know. Like, I'm still in awe that this is public. Like, like, guys, tell me, I don't even care, like, if I'm completely off base here, but, like, we're talking about meeting someone in your introduction. Like, I don't judge people off of my introduction. The first time I met Jacob, he was incredibly nervous. I noticed that.
You remember that?
I do remember that.
All right, call out.
No, but I do remember.
It was, he was interviewing me for what would eventually become this role I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
Fair to be nervous.
100%. I didn't use that against him for like all of time. And like, I'm like, well, no, I'm not, Jacob, fuck, he didn't give me a firm handshake. Like, imagine, a guy comes in for an
probably
interview.
did though.
You probably did.
Because it's
You
school,
look like
we actually did practice. Because I was in a school that had like a sales class that the handshake was a key component.
Well, I wonder if that's it too. Like, I suck at sales. I'm like the worst marketer around. So yeah, sure, maybe it was a horrible first impression, but like, I don't know what that has to do with anything.
Yeah, I don't see Farley Betts tweets because I'm blocked by him. I don't know why, but
Probably by association, I
guess.
guess.
no, I don't think so. I probably went at him.
Did we talk about him on the show?
Yes, absolutely. We
Yeah,
talked about him on the show. You said he was coming at you on his podcast,
There is a clip.
Fuck, I forgot. Okay,
which
yes.
he clearly right.
The fucking Fezzik school of thought here. Do a 10-minute segment on a podcast about me, but literally don't mention my name, and then write an entire spiel about say it to my face.
Yeah,
like, what the fuck are we talking
we
about
all
here?
kind of, when you went on that rant, we all, including Kirk and Jeff, were like, I don't know if it was specifically directed at you, but this tweet kind of very much supports your claim.
Well, I mean, here's a DM I got after that episode, which was, I mean, I can't say, I'm not going to give the name, but I mean, 100% all of Farley's tweets were directed at you. I knew this before today's podcast. I didn't realize he worked at Hammer. I listened to his podcast too before I heard yours today. He has issues with you, was turned off big time. So
Yeah.
I don't know, it's very strange because when he worked for the Hammer, I was the producer for his show. He's a very nice guy. I think
all my
personal against
interactions
him.
with him were like extremely positive.
I don't know.
Not
Strange.
the handshake.
I guess.
Well, he also said you were softly engaged for half a second and looked away. I don't know.
It's very possible. Listen, I don't know. I don't remember. I don't remember my first interaction with Kirk. I oddly remember you because I interviewed you. I don't remember the first time I met Jeff. I don't remember the first interaction with most. Maybe that's me. Maybe I'm in the minority. I like to think I'm in the majority.
Well, I think we're fixating on the wrong thing here anyways.
Well, I don't know this guy at all, but I want to go through why this is a tweet of a totally unserious human being. Second paragraph. To have a bad handshake with someone and jump to jealousy, insecurity, and lack of awareness is just an insane leap to make that assumption right away. Then he talks about how the contests, has no idea why Rob thinks contests aren't reflective of actual winning bettors. It's not the fact of market timing, it's the fact that, just like you said, there are 90 picks, 40 of them are going to be stale lines. Of course, there's strategy to it, but like the best NFL bettors in the world can enter contests and do poorly in them versus the best NFL bettors in the world. Even if, let's say, they have a season where they run poorly, they'll always be beating the line and over a massive sample win. Versus contests just aren't like that. They're much more luck involved.
Reward specific strategies over a limited time frame.
Yes.
And winning, it's still impressive. Like, you have
sure.
to go on a great run to win.
Yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily mean sustainable long-term betting success.
It kind of changes your words here, though, because you said anyone can win a contest, which is true.
Yeah.
But you're not saying it's not hard to win a contest, which
I'm
he's
just-
making it out that he's saying firstly contests are extremely hard to win. I don't think you deny that, but anyone can do it.
If you think
I'm gonna state something here that I don't even tell people this, okay? I actually don't even want to state it, but I'm just gonna state it. I have cashed in a contest before, okay? I don't publicly say so because I didn't make the picks. I just funded it. Somebody else did. I've cashed in a contest, okay? I'm not gonna ever victory lap that. I could easily do that. I could. It doesn't matter. It wasn't my own stuff. The Farley stuff here, where he finished fourth in the circle, and Farley's had a falling out with the person that he cashed with in fourth. I will never know the story behind that, But so many people reached out to me about Farley at that time that said, hey, Rob, guess what? Farley was an NBA guy at that time. He wasn't even making the picks when they finished fourth. You can rebut that if you want to, Farley. Totally fine. I know you've had a falling out with that guy. He's since left Twitter. I can't contact him. There's many people who met you when you went to cash that check where you claimed that you weren't even making. You're like, I'm not the guy. Talk to this guy. I think his name's Steve. He was the one doing all the. So let's fucking stop this heinous bullshit of I'm the best bettor. I've cashed 2 times. You went 19-1 in a quarterly this year. Your record still finished behind, not with a great record. And you go 19-1 in a 4-week span and you don't cash in a contest. Anyways, I'm now hyper fixated on the wrong things here. But the whole point for me is contest success. Too many people wrap this up with betting success. They are not the same thing. I am a very good bettor. That I make my living betting. The contests, I just try to hit it big is really what I'm doing. But it's
I think it's objective that contests are a skill game that you absolutely can get some edge in. But to equate contests and betting, betting is just 1,000x more challenging of a game, a better game, a game where you can win more money, where you can generate more EV. So to me, contests are pretty irrelevant. Then just to finish off why it's an unserious tweet. Also, at Fezzik Sports will annihilate you in a contest. Can't wait to see that. Again, just a ludicrous point, because even if Rob actually sucks in contests and Fezzik is great, there's just no way that he's definitely going to annihilate him. There's way too much luck involved. There's just no
chance. Why think probabilistically, Kirk? Why would you think
exactly. I said earlier on the earlier on the podcast, you're a small favorite. That's what I would make you at, probably minus 110 to plus 110,
yeah,
maybe minus 115. And I think you're a good bettor. I don't really have much respect for Fezzik. It's just so much randomness. And then the last point I'll say is to say, when I was first in the industry, many guys tell me that I must use Betstamp to verify my records. I don't like doing anything that people tell me I must do. That is just such a stupid take. And people who think this, you're a sheep, because it just means that if a lot of people tell you to do something, you're going to do the opposite. It's the exact same thing. You're just being a sheep in the opposite direction. It is the dumbest take ever, and I hate it when people say that.
Yeah, so I will say Farley's show was called Total Redemption, yeah. Total Redemption, yes. Where he was giving out NFL totals at the time.
Yeah.
Okay. And we did that, I think, for 1 season or so. Less than that?
Yeah, I'd be surprised if it got past 6 weeks.
That was when I was I was not the CEO in the infancy of it. I was building the talent with Matt Landis, I think, at that time, and Moretto.
Yeah, we stretched ourselves way too thin.
Yes.
So we consolidated a lot. We focused on specific shows. This was just one that happened to be cut. There was nothing against Farley. The show is doing well, quite honestly.
We had a great conversation on the
record-wise. The show is doing well.
Yeah, it's probably still exists. Honestly, we
didn't delete it, so the Betstamp page should still exist. Total.
The Betstamp point was that when I did take over, not even when I took over, before I was even the CEO of it, the whole notion was we have to be this transparent network. That's what we're going to be. No one else is tracking their picks everywhere publicly, and this. So yeah, we were we want the creators to use Betstamp. Now there's other stuff involved in this. Betstamp is a sister company to the Hammer in that the ownership is pretty similar. They're just separate companies. But Johnny owns a Betstamp and the Hammer. Julian, who's the CTO of a Betstamp, owns a piece in the Hammer. Some outside investors own pieces in both.
I have the record here. So it's total_redemption.
Yeah.
9-5. So
okay, so yeah. No, but it was one pick a show or two, maybe.
But it wasn't he got canned because the show is bad. It wasn't getting views. I don't.
Yeah, we had to consolidate to the shows that were getting views because we were spread too thin.
Not a personal shot. It just wasn't doing well.
We wanted people to track on Betstamp, and everyone did for a period of time because that was what it was fair to. Now, it was only about what you're giving out on air. If you're a pro bettor, you make your livelihood from betting and you're doing stuff for us. I don't expect you to share every single play. But if you give something out on air, We have to have a place where people can go to see that. And that was I think the Betstamp, unless he's referring to other people who were telling him you got to use Betstamp, which honestly kind of makes me proud that other people would go out there and be like, yeah, you should be tracking on Betstamp as well. The biggest thing for me, Kirk, about this entire thing was when he calls me an insecure person, okay? Because I am very much self-aware, unlike a lot of other people in this space. I know I do a lot of self-reflection. I'm not perfect. I have many bad qualities. I can be instinctual. I can be arrogant, self-deprecating. I can do a lot of things. Insecurity is not one. To do what I do, I'm actually the opposite of insecure. I'm very secure and comfortable in what I do. I did a 45-minute episode of Circles Off where I basically laid out like my entire life as it is in an episode. Okay, insecure people don't do that. I don't block people on Twitter. I let people respond to me. I go back and forth with them. I engage. I show up in Twitter spaces. I engage. These are not signs of insecurity. A sign of insecurity is tweeting something like this and then hiding all of the negative replies. That to me is a sign of insecurity. That is you projecting your insecurity on me. I would never do that. I do not hide replies, period. People can say what they want to say on the internet. For you to go and hide negative replies, I know this because Flupno lied. Chris Dierkes has something that I responded that I can't see. It's hidden. It's a conversation that's hidden. That to me is insecure. This whole message reeks of insecurity to me, honestly. I'll tell you what's also insecure. Reaching out to people privately via DMs afterwards, telling them your whole life story and how you're in the right and this and that. All these things reek of insecurity. Do not project that on me. I am not insecure. In terms of the end here, of like, this is another, people act like I've never said this to other. I sat right next to Darren Rovell. I've had this conversation with him before. I've talked to so many people in Vegas on an annual basis where I deal with these things directly with them. We've had private conversations. Sometimes we hash it out and we leave, walk away and be like, you know what, respect you for having this conversation. Let's move on. Sometimes they go nowhere. And it's just like, what are we doing here? Like, let's move on, okay? This invitation to like meet in Vegas without cameras or crowds, I'll just say this. Like, we're not in fucking high school here, all right? The industry is competitive enough without needing to like resort to threats or this ridiculous tough guy act.
Yeah.
Like, I know you were in the military, but you will beat the shit out of me, of course. That doesn't mean I wouldn't say this stuff to your face, but like, we can address these things professionally like adults. This whole rant is, I mean, it was obviously very off-putting, but I found it laughable, honestly. Like, always ending with like, oh, say that to my face or whatever. Yeah, okay. Like, but what am I to expect in return? Like, you disagree with me and you punch me in the face?
Yeah, he's gonna assault you?
What are we doing here? So, of all the things I dealt with this week, Fezzik, Man of the Library,
Flu game.
This one to me was the most distasteful of the entire bunch because I think it's just like came nowhere near to like making the points that I think he wanted to make. Now, obviously, that's my biased perspective. People are messaging me. They're like, hey, Farley said this. Like, why aren't you responding to him? I'm like, because nobody's seen this. Nobody actually saw this tweet till Fezzik actually quote tweeted it. Okay? There was literally less than 1,000 views. No one saw it. It's Super Bowl Sunday. What do you think I'm going to do? I'm going to sit there and just like meticulously go back and forth? No, I'm going to use my platform. I'm going to give my side of things. He can use give his side of things. That's fine. We disagree. If I see him in person, we can talk about it. We can hash it out. If he punches me in the face, sure. I mean, I'm going to get charged with assault, but sure. Have your way. KO me. Like, this is what we're doing as adults now. Fine. That's it. I think that's all I can really say.
Well, he claims to be a winning bettor in the post. Do you disagree? Agree or disagree here? Because that's like what he's saying here. Because you're suggesting winning a contest would mean you're winning bettor. Do you think he's not a winning bettor?
I don't know. Okay, so let's just say this. I don't keep tabs on what Farley's doing. I don't. I don't I don't.
Does he sell picks?
He does. I don't buy the picks. I mean, I know that his justification for selling picks is that this is the justification in DMs he sent, is that he sells for $50 and there's people who sell for way more, but he's actually a winning bettor, so people will find him and buy his picks and they'll actually have a chance to win. Whatever. I don't want to get into like, is he a winner or is he not? It's actually, to me, irrelevant to the entire conversation. It is. I do know that the last time we did bring him up on this show, I made a commentary about how he had pro bettor in his profile on Twitter, when I do know that he holds down a full-time job. He's since removed that from his profile. It's not in there anymore. It was at the time. I don't like the artistry, let's call it. But the records, I can't dispute the records. I mean, what he says is going to go because he's tracking on like a Google spreadsheet or whatever. To me, that's not the crux of the argument. But once somebody calls me insecure, call me a lot of things. Asshole. Sure, I'll take it. I'll accept it. You know, there's lots of things. This is an insecure message, not me. And I think that's all I can say. I'll leave it at that. Not a pen. I can't do a mic drop because it's here. I'll do the pen drop for the Sharpie drop or whatever. And we can end on that this week. I know a lot about me this week.
No, it's good. I like it when this is personal.
I don't. I find it tiresome.
The personal episodes are a lot longer.
But I do insert myself into a lot of it, so I get it. I totally understand that. But anyways, next week, we have someone making their debut here on Circle Back. You're going to want to set notifications. You're going to want to be subscribed. Because next week, it's going to be an episode. It's going to be an episode. Think you will enjoy it. Smash that thumbs up down below. Of course, use that hashtag #CircleBack on Twitter. I do see them all. I try to include as many as possible. Less topics this week because less happened. And let's just say the hashtag skewed heavily towards certain conversations. I wanted to do Spanky versus Ras, but Spanky didn't show up to the spaces. He was away. It didn't really turn into anything that is worthwhile in terms of discussion, but we'll get as many of those in there going forwards. And of course, check out our show sponsor, Underdog, as well. If you haven't tried them yet, use code CIRCLES. We don't get any cut of losses or anything like that. They're just a great sponsor for us. They're a really fun game. So check them out if you can for basketball season, baseball season, or hockey season. Peace out, everyone. See you back here next week on Circle Back.